Well, here we are again after many months. God, I kind of have to keep my eye on things. I have to be kind of aware of how loud I'm speaking, both so I don't fucking deafen the audience and have fucking my sound going everywhere, but also because it is midnight right now. So it's been a long time. I haven't made a video on YouTube for like 2 months. And even that was just saying I'd never make Homestuck stuff ever again, so I've done everything. I've taken painkillers in case I get a headache, which I'm prone to doing. I'd love to play in the dark for the creepy atmosphere, but I'd also give myself a headache from that. It's finally time for Volume 11, baby! Yes! Yeshin! Ormsey Mort, male, 8 sweeps old. Green-blooded, olive, sigil type San2C, dissolve. Known aliases, noxious, obnoxious antidote. Confirmed to have been present at the corporate awards night where he purchased the information necessary to get access to the Vivifier's blood from an informant. Also, God, apparently this is going to be like the longest Snowbound Blood volume to date. Nearly as long as a novel, and I'm like, okay, can I like sit and talk for that long? An insider. Informant claims to have had past experience with these sorts of transactions. The informant is... Your heart is pounding, your chest feels tight. There is a longing inside you, an itch you have refused to scratch so far, growing more and more insistent the longer this case stretches before you. Oh, you need to see her, you need a tailor, because I ripped my pants. Okay, that's a bad joke, that's a bad joke. Yeshin Levis. Yes! Okay, before I say anything, and this is not a slight towards whoever designed Yeshin, but she reminds me of Mariah from JoJo. Yes, I've got JoJo on the brain. She is like Mariah from JoJo. The end. Like similar hair, similar like personality. It's just great. It's awesome. Content warning. This volume contains police brutality. Oh no, Cecily! Cecily, no! Okay. You swivel yourself around as you finish your 8th lap around the room. Even with the coat discarded, you're working up a sweat with all the pacing, fingers tapping an impatient rhythm on your left arm. Typical of her to be fashionably late, despite you having stressed how urgent of a matter your meeting was. Maybe you should have said nothing would please you more than her being 47 minutes late to your rendezvous. You're sure she would have shown up on the dot if that were the case. You huff through your nose. With nothing else to occupy it, your mind keeps running on loops, going over the same facts 100 times and spinning on its wheels. You don't have Ormsey's location yet. One last puzzle piece and you'll finally be ahead of him. Make your own path rather than follow his breadcrumbs. All you need is a link, a location. Focus on the case. That's your priority. This is a nice little apartment room thing. Just checking that I'm still recording. Of course I am. There have been no status updates from Crichton for a few days, and neither have you kept Sestro and Hamifi up to date with these latest happenings. They have no idea how close you are, and you will keep it that way. The possibility of a leak is too high. You can't risk this, not until the information is secured. Secured! You'll apologise for keeping them in the dark once you come back to the stronghold with a concrete plan of action ready to be deployed. Where the fuck is Yeshin? Recall Yeshin Levis. It's Levis, isn't it? Or is it Livis? Ooh, nice background. I recognise this style. Your left eye stings like a bitch. Barely a minute since you've stepped inside this haunt, and already you regret it. Too many patrons, too much dust, music far too loud. You prefer not to think about the smell. Damned if you'll back down though. Your day's been shit enough so far and you need a drink, stat. You steel yourself and shoulder past the crowd, paying no mind to the glares directed your way. A quick once over and, yeah, you could take this entire bar with a hand tied behind your back. A shrill laugh pierces your eardrums just as you find an empty spot by the counter. A series of hoots, hollers, and guffaws follows like an echo. Your head throbs. Muttering a curse under your breath, you focus on trying to catch the barkeep's eye. "That's a splendiferous bruise thou art carrying, honey." The lilting song-like voice snaps you out of your private little pity party. "Whoa! Hello there! The first word that comes to your mind is gaudy, indulgently, shamelessly so. Ridiculous sheer shirt, low-hanging tailored pants, a truly unnecessary amount of jewellery to top it all off. The woman before you is a parody of wealth. A burgundy blood, you note, someone who should have been given none of it. Whatever she owned, she must have gotten it by taking, a point of pride. The second thing you notice is that her cane is not just for show. You catch her last steps before she stops by your side, lazily leaning against the bar. She favours the left leg. Oh. As she reclines against the surface, not even bothering to hide the way she's looking you up and down, you realise that you... Oh fuck! I could say the same about your lip. Oh no! You blurt out the first thing that pops into your head. "Oh no, Cecily, no, she's disabled! You can't say that! Was that rude? Did you offend her?" Yes, it was rude, and you probably did offend her. You suck at this. You do, Cecily. The burst of downright mirthful laughter catches you by surprise, and not only on account of how loud it is. You suppose that's a good sign. You turn your gaze towards your lap as you shrug off your coat, feeling your neck start to heat up. The woman hums, stretching the sound much longer than necessary before she replies. "Mayhaps an exchange is in order. How telleth thou how I got mine if you telleth me how you got yours?" Glancing back in her direction, you turn the idea around in your head. She holds your stare, chin propped up on a manicured hand, radiating a self-assured smugness that is as charming as it is infuriating. Oh. You scoff in lieu of an answer. The barkeep from earlier finally notices you're waving, and you order yourself a Jack and Coke. She just keeps standing on the same spot right next to you waiting. It's only after you take the long drink from your glass, the cocktail made strong, burning as it goes down, that you speak up again. Took a punch in close quarters from a drug dealer. She raises one of her perfect brows. You don't miss the way her eyes travel from your bruise to your lips. Oh! And what happened to them, perchance? You let your mouth turn up at the corners. I need at least 2 more drinks before I tell you that. The answer into a dazzling grin. You get the impression that if she could, she would be purring. Oh, your turn. Where'd you get the limp? Ah, lass. In a display of theatrical grief, she plops herself down on the seat next to yours, leaning against your shoulder in one fell swoop. Like, I don't know if that's like a genuine, like, short-term injury kind of limp, or like, if she like, or if that's like a chronic, long-term thing. I don't know. We'll see. My knee was rent asunder by a fearsome river beast, a crocodile. You can't help the disbelief. She hardly looks the type to go around wrestling with wild creatures. What were you doing fighting a crocodile? Well, she waseth my Lucis. Oh, I remember talking to somebody about this long ago. I can't remember who mentioned something about Yeshin's Lucis being a crocodile, so hey. The way she shrugs her shoulders is dismissive, nonchalant, as if commenting on the horrid weather outside. Not a very fine one, mind. The all-milf doth bequeath her most foot-crustable challenges to her most beefened angels. Oh, ain't that true? You take this fact in, deciding to ignore the foppish woman's strange verbal quirks for now. Your Lucis hadn't even liked you fighting at all. Back when you were still in training, you couldn't possibly imagine you take another gulp of your drink. I'm sorry to hear that. I vow this much. She was sorrier to have done it by ye old end. Good. She untangles herself from your right arm, leaving behind a cold imprint in the shape of her body. So, sweetheart, art thou allowed to giveth me your name now? It's Cecily Yopara. The way she smiles at you feels predatory, dangerous. It ignites something warm in your gut. Hey! I should stop laughing. Stop laughing. Most pleased to know thou, Cecily. They calleth me Yeshin. Yeshin. It's a good name. Sharp and sibilant or sibilant? I don't fucking know. You think it suits her. Would you like a drink? About that time thou asketh. It's not polite to leave a girl in wait, verily. You scoff for the second time tonight, with more still on the horizon you suspect, and signal the barkeep for another drink. Unsurprisingly, the beguiling strumpet orders just about the gaudiest, strongest cocktail on the menu with a shot of rum on the side. It is served to her in a glass daintily decorated with a little umbrella and a cherry. Yeshin holds your gaze, pulling the straw into her mouth. She takes a long, deliberate sip without breaking eye contact, licking her lips once she's done. Ye knowst, darling, I do have the feeling that we shall be getting along swimmingly. Perhaps it's the alcohol settling inside you. Hey, I thought there was no alcohol in I'm sorry. There probably is, but, pop is more, prevalent, I think. Pop soda, clouding your otherwise sterling judgment, but when Yeshin offers her glass for a toast, you don't hesitate for a second. Oh. You shake the memory out of your head. The woman has been a constant fixture in your life ever since that day due to a perhaps hasty courting process. Still, you can't bring yourself to regret it, eh? Yeshin might be an absolute menace at the best of times, but you'd be remiss not to admit that she brings a certain levity with her wherever she goes, or perhaps irreverence might be the most appropriate term. Either way, it is a quality you distinctly lack. No one you have ever met can elicit from you such fascination and disgust in rapid-fire succession. It's headache-inducing, eye-roll-worthy, incensing. Take your pick. As if on cue, you hear the buzzing of your doorbell, once and then twice, and then many more times, accompanied by some knocking, loud, forceful knocking. Is she using her cane as a goddamn battering ram? A headache kind of day then, delightful. Despite the insistent cacophony, the moment gives you pause. You know what's waiting for you once you face the person on the other side of this door. It will be... well, it will be. Best get this over with. You march toward the door of your apartment in wide strides. Your face is schooled into your best reprimanding expression with a dash of put upon before you open the door. About time... Hey! You are cut off by an exaggerated, delighted exclamation, just like that one I once made, as your kismissus throws her arms around your shoulders. Oh, darling, how I have missed thine sorry behind. You sigh, putting exasperated hands on her waist to support her weight. A familiar dance between the two of you, as natural as breathing. Oh, your smile. It sends a pang through your chest. Yeshin? My word, what hast thou been up to? You look like shit, sweetheart. She says this as her right hand seizes your jaw, squeezing your cheeks together with the tips of her fingers. You wave it off with a grunt. What have you been up to? Where to even start? A world weariness washes over you, stifling the emergent fire of your resolve into a dull cinder. Your shoulders slump. There's been a case, one of utmost importance. Yeshin waves her hand, the picture of disinterest. Aren't they all mine, fair copper? I do declare, with hauling around the world's whole ass weight on thy robust shoulders must be quite burdensome. Would you just... Yeshin, there are things I must discuss. She cuts you off with a... unimpressed. I can't make that noise loud enough. A tusk. Oh, cheer up, wouldst thou? You are no fun when you get in one of thine moods. I do not have moods. She has the nerve to boop you on the nose. Denial doth look so dashing on you, lol. Methinks thou needst to relax, girl. She dances around you quick as a fox and wraps her arms around your torso. Okay, shush. Stop laughing. Maybe even have some fun. Her breath ghosts the shell of your ear and goosebumps run down the length of your arms. What is the nature of this route? Okay, I trust. If thy royal lawfulness hasn't forgotten the definition of the term in mine, extended absence, that is. Either way, I refuse us to be going into any important matters before we inject some zest into thine system. Oh, okay. She slaps your ass. Buenos dias, Cecily. Because damn, you could use it. With that, she twirls away from you and into your block. You sigh as you close the front door. Your eyes follow her as she flits about the place, predictably going straight to your liquor cabinet. You cross your arms and lean against the wall, watching as she sifts through its contents, humming to herself. And what would the so-called expert on the subject suggest, pray tell? I really can't wait to hear it. Maybe you'll also refresh my memory on that strange alien word you mentioned. Fu-un, was it? Yashin weights 2 different bottles on her hands, throwing an answer over her shoulder. Strip, go fish. Absolutely not. She cackles, throwing her head back, then haphazardly shoves one of the bottles back into the cabinet, the clinking of glass echoing through the room. If she breaks anything, you swear. Yashin pivots on her heels, and you can finally identify her pick of liquid poison, rum. Again, predictable. Thou doth never change. I love it. This is like them reading tests that you do in like school, where the teacher's like, can you read this out? And you kind of stumble through the words and the teacher's like, you could read something easier. And neither do you, having fun ransacking my hive. 'Tis a stupendous blast, muchly obliged. You should join me. Yashin punctuates her last word with a flick, sending the bottle cap flying onto the floor. She locks eyes with you and takes an unblinking swig. Oopsie. I do like it, the bubbles. Does rum have bubbles? Unceremoniously, she sits herself down by the table, leans toward you with a self-satisfied smile. Behind her is the case wall. Wouldst thou care for a game, darling? Your stomach twists itself into a knot. Tap, tap, tap goes the fingers against the palm of your hand. Your old grounding ritual. Can you afford this selfishness? Sure you can. She already knows your answer. Very well. The last one for old time's sake. You tear your eyes away as you join her, angling your chair towards your kismissus. Basking in her victory, Yashin produces a deck of cards from one of her myriad pockets. You've changed my mind, Ceci. Strip go fish is such a bore. We shall engageth in the gentlewoman's sport of choice. Strip poker. Hey, this... Absolutely so. No vetoing twice in a row. Unless you are afeard of thine beloved dame. She flutters her eyelashes at you. You huff and cross your arms. Hardly. Satisfied, she starts to shuffle the cards in fluid practice motions before you cut her up with a tusk. She looks at you with a raised brow as you extend your right hand, palm up, waiting. Go ahead, Miss Yapara. Okay, I need to switch my brain from JoJo mode to Snowbound Blood mode. No more JoJo references, please. Don't be coy. I know what your usual strategy entails. She gasps, offended, clutching the deck close to her chest. Why, I never! What in the world art thou implying? You wound me. You hold her gaze, her act drops and she hands over the deck with more force than necessary, settling her chin on her hands with a pout. By the two above, you are such a bitchy tyrant. Dost thou wish to find me for soulless thought crimes as well while you're at it? You chuckle as you give the desk a cursory once-over. It seems standard enough. My drink of choice this week is Tizer, which doesn't taste as good as I remember. I'll be sending the invoice to your truck. When she lets out the most long-suffering "ugh" in Repetonian history, you start shuffling the cards. That was good, felt it in my chest. It's the little victories, neither of you is ever on top for long. Hey! What rule set are we using? Stronghold. Nice one. A mite lacking in creativity, aren't we? I prefer the tried and true methods. One of your most gigantimous flaws. Oh, we're playing poker? You roll your eyes, dealing out 2 cards for each player before you set the deck down. As you're taking a look at your hand, Yeshin interjects, "Not so fast, homegirl. I believe thou oweth me a chug from thine cabinet." She jostles the bottle of liqueur she unceremoniously stole in front of you. Wouldn't want to not play on the most evenest of boards, would you? Excuse me? It's your own fault you decided to get preemptively inebriated. Deal with your handicap. You snatch the offered bottle from her hands, taking an exasperated swig from it. The alcohol settles inside you, strong and pleasantly warm. That's not how alcohol works. I mean, it is, I'm sorry. I feel so bad saying this shit, because I know a lot of love went into writing this, plus I'm a spirit kind of person, and I don't drink rum. That's probably how rum feels. There, happy? Positively so. The sound of her snickering fills the room as you analyse your hand. Ace of clubs, 8 of clubs. Not bad. You try to gauge your opponent's reaction to her own hand, though you know it's useless. Yeshin's poker face relies on the opposite of stolidity, or pouts, sighs, grins, yawns. Every time she so much as blinks, your eyes wander from your cards and towards her. Alcoholized and colliginously harried as you are, you're unlikely to glean any new information about the case. Unfortunately, you and your dignity safeguarded, you and your Kismis's shared fondness for games ignites a different sort of instinct. Try and keep your dignity intact and you may yet come out on top, but do I want to? Shut up. I'm in. And what, pray tell, art thou betting? You point at your waist. Thine belt? I would be remiss to deprive thee of thy handiest plaything so early in the night. Oh! Look again. Yeshin exaggerates her lean over the table in a manner too calculated to be casual. She smells of cheap perfume, imitation flowers long extinct. Oh. You fix your gaze on the bridge of her nose, deftly ignoring the valley of her cleavage, as her eyes trail your pointer finger towards thine gun holster? Boo, you puritanical whore! Oxymoron. It be thine lusus. Keep bending over like that and I'll have no choice but to look at your cards, however accidentally. Honey, my cards are not what hold thy interest at the moment. She retreats to her end of the table with a wink and an obnoxious kissy noise, holding her cards close to her copious chest. I call thine mediocre gamble with this earring mine. Yeshin flicks one of her earrings, custom forged in the shape of your sigil. Oh. You can only imagine the kick she gets out of dancing around her rogue's dens, all legs and glossy lipstick, kismessitude with the chief regulator in flagrant display. This hardly seems fair. A gun holster is many times larger than an earring, even one of such ostentatious proportions. 'Tis about the effect, my dear. I shall be defenceless as a stray grub without mine accessories, as wouldst you without the weaponry thou preposterously insisteth on donning in the comfort of thy hive. They are not preposterous, they are the tools of my trade. I resteth my case. Fine. Yeshin grins obsequiously as you deal the flop. Queen of clubs, 7 of diamonds, ace of spades. You now hold a pair of aces, the highest possible, and a high 8 for backup. It's good progress, not enough to make you raise the bet, and folding is useless in strip poker, best proceed with caution. Check. Yeshin chews on the inside of her cheek, affecting injury to a pride that she does not possess. Same. You reveal the turn card, 8 of spades. Poker doesn't elicit the same concentration in you that chess does. I don't know what the hell kind of poker this is, but you resent the way even your best strategies could be defeated by mere chance. All that considered, the odds have swung so indisputably in your favour that you nearly betray a smile. Still, you'll play conservatively for the time being. If Yeshin wants to drag this out by betting ornamental minutiae, you'll make her squirm through every second of it. Check. Yeshin rests her teal-polished nails on the bottle's neck, beaming at you. I raiseth my belt. You immediately see through her ruse. Your gun holster clips to your belt, meaning you'd be betting 2 pieces of clothing for the price of 1. How predictably vindictive. Methinks you're engaging in some of ye old projection. I remember a Kismesis whose comebacks were slightly more creative than those one might hear on the reduplication playground. Thou art so neurotic today I hardly even have to try to land my pot shots. But worrieth not. Once I'm through with thee, you shalt have no pills lefteth to clutch. I call, belt for belt. Yeshin flutters her eyelashes. You reveal the river card. She breaks eye contact before you do, looking at the card and dictating its result in melodic sing-song. Queen of Diamonds. My second favourite. Your first being? Yeshin raps her knuckles on the table, signalling check. There's a 4-beat rhythm to it, a mockery of your grounding ritual. Shall we find it out? You answer by drumming your fingertips on the table. You'll be damned if you let her take this from you. I don't know. I don't know what the rules of this game are. This is like poker. Allow me. If I wait for you to go first, we may be stuck here waiting for 47 minutes. You arm yourself with your cockiest grin, the kind you only express around Yeshin as you show her your cards. She hardly spares them a glance, more interested in deploying her verbal riposts than moving the game forward. I don't know how to pronounce that. Thou tracketh my tardiness on the dot? OMG. If only Stronghold 21's most bastardous criminals knew of the Chief Regulator's hate-struck Barkbeast shenanigans. If her Kismesis continues dallying, she is likely to expire of old age before she gets to spread the word. Oh, 'tis a shame thy hive-wrecking pale-fails mindfulness advice hath yet to pierce thine skull's splendiferous girth. Your smile sours into a snarl. Yeshin, unperturbed, spreads her hand on the table. Queen of Spades and 8 of Diamonds. Full hive. Perhaps I'll teach thee the basics of restraint. Once you've handed over that belt. With a sharp exhale, you reach for the gun holster and toss it over your shoulder. Fucking thing was empty anyway. Your dignity takes a mild blow. You contrive to take your belt off while sitting down. It requires some unrefined manoeuvring, but you'll take that over giving Yeshin the luxury of admiring you as you undress. Your Kismesis side-eyes the spectacle as she chugs rum from the bottle. You hand over your belt along with a considerable portion of your dignity. Thou remain a tighter ass than even this leatheriest of belts. Mayhaps partake in some liquid relaxation? As if she had to tell you to drink, it's basically an unofficial rule at this point. You snatch the proffered bottle from Yeshin's hand. Smudged red lipstick stains the rim. An ungentle warmth creeps its way up your cheeks before you've even taken a swig. Whoops, she saw you blush. You interrupt Yeshin in the middle of reaching for the deck. What do you think you're doing? Commoners refer to it as playing poker, Your Honour. You're delusional if you think you're dealing a single card this game. Thou art breaking the hallowed pronunciamentos of dealing order. Hath the cobber become the robber? To catch a cheater, one must think like a cheater. Yeshin gasps theatrically as you wash the cards. You wonder who else she has been performing this little song and dance for over the past blink. She makes a wretched habit of flirting with anything that has grey skin and horns. It's all a ploy to make you jealous, even though you know she could never take it further than coquetry. You have to know, though. You glance at the case wall out of the corner of your eye. So, how have you busied yourself in my absence? Am I not entitled to privacy as an innocent citizen consumer? You have never spent a day in your life abiding by the law. Thou hast yet to prove otherwise. You focus on riffling the deck one last time, giving the rum swirling around your think pan ample time to wash away the anxiety of proving otherwise. Not all of my questions are an exercise in advanced interrogation technique. I'm merely curious. Am I not shouting? No, I'm not. Yeshin waves her hand effectly. Alas, as thou wouldst not reply to even my most feverishly debased of texts. I hath done naught but lie coop-ridden, with 106 degrees of febrile longing for thee. Mine constitution hath been the same since the war. Dost thou endeavour to slay thine poor Kismesis? I'll keep it in mind for next time I find you in need of punishment. You should have expected to tell you nothing of import. I need throat spray. Between dealing cards and dealing with her, you'll take the former for now. You hold a 4 of spades and a 4 of clubs. A starting pair is strong stuff. Nope, the privilege of opening falls on your Kismesis this time. Even in this criminal's game, you have to observe at least some rules. Pass. Luckily, you're angling to do the same. Last time you got cocky, your dignity paid for it dearly. Check. You reveal the flop. 4 of diamonds, king of clubs, 4 of hearts. You never considered yourself a lucky woman, just the opposite in fact, but that may change tonight. You hold a whopping 4 of a kind, 4 of 4s. You chuckle internally. Externally, of course, you remain impenetrable. Even Yeshin's ludicrous full high from last round wouldn't stand a chance against you now. I raiseth this shirt. You quirk an eyebrow. You're still wearing your jacket. Unlike all of the occupants of this depression den, I'm no prude regarding clothes removal order. The jacket accentuates mine assets. Oh, you'd have to be stupid to turn the bet down. The most you can have at this point is a risable 3 kings. Shirt against shirt. I doth enjoy it so when you try to take mine. Yeshin strokes her fingers on the table like a purbeast needing flesh. The look in her eyes, the memory she's evoking must be as vivid in her mind as it is in yours. It was nearly a sweep into your relationship that you caught wind of her illicit activities. You'd always had your suspicions. Now, after weeks of investigation, you've finally caught her rust-handed, or as close as you'd ever come to it. Right in front of your eyes, Yeshin fed the papers evincing her insider trading activities into a shredder, which fed the scraps into a fire. You crossed the room in 3 steps, released your sword pommel and gripped her by the... I can never remember, is it lapels or lapels? I don't fucking know. She yowled in surprise and delight, one and the same for her. She smelled of ash and nervous fear. In retrospect, you can't believe how easily she ran circles around you. She was such an amateur. But then you suppose so were you. She made it evident. You detested her for it. You growled menace into her ear. She laughed, knowing your threats were empty. She tried to wrap a leg around your waist, a move that resembled the start of a getaway too much for your comfort. Before she could try anything, you shoved her down on a nearby table. She tried to play it off as part of her plan, but there was a glint of something else in her eye, a jewel rare and ruby red. Anger. You took her by the throat. She raked her nails on your wrist. You spent the night pouring your frustrations into each other. Oh, okay. Right. She's changed in the sweep since. Her hairstyle, her clothes, her expertise at getting under your skin. But the effect she has on you, tapping her nails on the table, expensive mascara, low cuts and playful malice, is identical. She stands out like a hazard sign against your apartment's concrete grey, her dress an ineffable demand for your attention. You don't take your eyes off her as you deal the turn card. 6 of diamonds. Yashin purses her lips. She makes it look natural, but each and every one of her moves is calculated. Which is how you know it's not an accident when she reaches for the bottle and instead knocks over half the deck. Whoopsie daisy! Yeshin tries to rearrange the deck. You seize her by the wrist. Absolutely not. Haven't my dealing hand grown tired? You stare Yeshin down. If she has a further retort, it dies on her lips. She releases her hold on the cards with a sour humph. You take the deck, separating the face-up cards, riffle and cut through the rest a few times. Then you restore the game state to its original position. Yeshin doesn't even try to quibble about game state inaccuracies. She knows your memory is flawless. You feel slightly bolder. You deal the river, 5 of diamonds. Yeshin grins her Savannah Beast grin. I proudly announce my possession of a straight flush. You roll your eyes. And I expect you believe I will discard my hand in response to that. 'Tis what one does when defeated. Unless thou hast a royal flush, lol. Unfortunately for you, I'm familiar with the distinction between claiming a high hand and actually having one. Smiling, you reveal your 4 of a kind. Read them and weep. Oh, weep I shall. Yeshin's smile is immutable. You feel a pang of fear but brush it away. She couldn't possibly have been. And yet there it is, the 2 and 3 of diamonds. Oh shit, straight fucking flush. Tears of joy, that is. Rough. You're gaping. Your fangs click together when you close your mouth. True to her infuriatingly spoken out loud slang, Yeshin is nearly rolling on the floor with laughter. Her tinny guffaws are a drill bit in your ear canal. You struggle to undo your shirt's buttons. Your hand-eye coordination is drowning in booze. When you've undone the second button, exposing the beginning of your cleavage, Yeshin starts clapping her hands and whistling as if you were merely her entertainment. Woo! Go Queen, giveth us everything. Your fingers slip on the 5th button. You can clearly see yourself blushing all over, a dusting of teal all the way down to your abdomen. Oh honey, good to know your leave of absence have left thine washboard untouched. You think you're done, and then your still buttoned cuffs catch on your wrist. Yeshin starts laughing again and doesn't stop until you've taken the damn thing off in earnest. You motion to toss the shirt behind you. Nah, handeth over the goods. You half-heartedly throw your shirt at Yeshin. She presses it to her face and takes a deep breath. Oh, mine odorous opponent, how I miss thy pheromonal bouquet. You're a mess. Yeshin's eyes flutter up and you find it suddenly difficult to meet her gaze. She rakes her eyes hungrily up and down your arms as you shuffle the deck again. When's the last time you renewed your bond? Oh, you could easily answer that question with your perfect recall intact despite the alcohol, but you'd rather not. Shall we go again, or has thine thirst for humiliation been properly slaked? You're the one that proposed this damn game, and you agreed, 'cause you hate me so much. You take a shot and deal the cards. That's a king of diamonds and a 7 of hearts for you. So you have a high king, as if it's availed you much thus far. Pass. Looketh out everyone, she's on a rampage. You hesitate, deck in hand. You've been stopping Yeshin from shuffling all this time because you expect her to cheat. She'd never expect you to cheat. The power is yours, Cecily. What will you do? Let's cheat. Look at you, brought to the level of a common criminal. No, you're worse. At least a criminal knows how to cheat. You, on the other hand, have been staring uselessly at the deck for a full second. Relax, Cecily, it's just sleight of hand. You're as dexterous with your fingers as you are with your blade. As you cut the deck for another riffling, you subtly turn the deck towards you. Catch sight of the card below. Ace of spades, you could use that. Reach for it, nimble as a feather beast, and... Whoops, no, it's on the table now. What be this? Slip of the hand. Yeshin laughs, honey and vinegar in expert portions. Honey, no one's hand slippeth like that. To your rising horror, you don't have a retort. You fix your gaze on the table. You're burning all over. A single toesy-woesy caught out of line and you blusheth with such virginal vigour. Surely thou dost know a flush of the flesh don't count in a game of poker, strip or otherwise. I'm dropping out of this pot. Perhaps that is the way in thy regulators' poker nights. Here we punish cheaters our own way. Hey! Here we're in my apartment. Thou art duelling me. Yeshin bats her eyelashes. You steel yourself for what's coming. You prompt her to make her grand reveal with a quirked eyebrow and a sinking feeling in your gut. Well, thou must buy in, and needst I remind you, thou hast but one piece of apparel left to forfeit, unless you intended this to be a killjoy about your socks as well. Not that I'd allow it now that you are the cheater and I am the law. You squeeze your fist and breathe hard. The alcohol boils in your head. She means your pants. What else? You'll regret this. I doth dearly hope I shall. You deal the flop. 5 of hearts, king of spades, 3 of clubs. That's a pair of kings for you, though you daren't ride your hopes on it. With every card thou dealest, I picture thee further and further pantsless. Don't count your cluck-beast produce before it materialises. My mind is fixed upon... Oh! My mind is fixed upon a creamier sort of protein at the moment. Oh! Drink. Okay. You snatch the bottle out of her hands and chug it to near empty. Yeshin downs what's left of the swill, licking her lips in an exaggerated motion. Her lipstick is a disaster. Shame she won't have much left for you. Focus, Cecily. You have to win this hand. Turn. Jack of spades. Nothing for you. You catch yourself drumming your fingers on the table. You know you can fold any time. That would mean giving up the bet. Oh, you don't have to tell me that. You don't even have an eye roll for your Kismesis. You just grit your teeth and slam the river card on the table. 10 of spades. You've hardly lifted your gaze off the spread before Yeshin pushes her cards in your face. What was it thou accusedeth me of earlier? Of being a horrid little pest, a blight upon my entire life? No, less earlier. 'Twas dallying, my dear. Well, as thou have said, readeth and weepeth, bitch! Your eyes glaze over as you read Yeshin's hand. She has a queen of spades and an ace of spades. It's a fucking royal flush. The possibilities are infinitesimal. She's been cheating, and the worst part is you can't even figure out how. Okay, no more Jojo brain, no more. You throw your paltry cards at Yeshin. They catch her right in the face just as she begins doubling over with a fit of laughter. Rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off. Oh, Ceci, if you could see the look on your face right now. Never hath thou thrown a tantrum of such Brobdignagian... I don't know what the word... proportions. Shut up. Maketh me, but not before you've removed thy pants. Shut up. You stand up, supporting yourself on the on the table as you struggle to take your pants off. It dawns on you that you're drunk. You hop one leg graciously out of your pants, taking half of what's left of your bruised decorum with it. Yeshin gets up and makes her way towards you, looking you up and down with shameless zeal. Doth you plan to take those off by thyself? Yes. But how will you catch me with your hands busy? What? Since I am just about falling over from drunkenness. Oop. Yeshin drapes herself over you, arms wrapped around your neck. She now smells of rum, cherry lipstick, and something that makes your soul dance. The gleam in her eyes betrays a lucidity far beyond her purported inebriation. She is feather light in your arms. Even with her weight in the way and the tingle of her nuzzling up to the sensitive crook of your neck. I'm not reading this with my mother. It's not terribly difficult to take your pants off. Your mortification is complete. Yeshin's still-clothed hips are warm against your bare thighs. She places one finger under your chin and tilts your face towards her. You follow the lines of her collarbones down to the shadows gathering in her sternum's hollow, an invitation into the abyss. She radiates danger, the kind that makes the sound of your blood pressure pump in your ears. The addictive kind. Whoa! Eyes are up here, honey. That's not where you want me to look. Of all the delightful objects and organs thou could place in my mouth, you choose word. Help! Oh, my dear, sweet, stripped and saucy Ceci, if my mother's listening to this right now, I'm so sorry. It's almost 1 AM. I thought thou always played to win. You seize Yeshin by the neck and run your thumb over her larynx. Your queen of spades digs the tip of her nail into your jaw, carving a thin lifeline in teal, curlicues of dead, shredded skin. the burn of a rope held onto in desperation. You slide your hands up her thighs, pull her closer, and breathe her in. Oh! Oh! Hey! Fuckmaster Cecily once again. Your head is throbbing. Once again, you're reminded of the reason you don't go on spontaneous, ill-advised benders anymore. Several hours after your card game, you are sprawled on your futon, head still woozy as you stare at the ceiling and try to will the alcohol out of your system. There's a cold, damp imprint of the left side of your on the left side of your body, the spot your kismesis was huddled up against a few minutes ago. She has left you to freshen up, locking herself inside your sanitization block for the foreseeable future. I'm aware of how loud my fucking voice sounds. So quiet, and I'm reading all this shit out, and you take a moment to center yourself, the running solution dispenser a source of pleasant white noise. The solution dispenser and Yeshin's occasional singing, that is. It could be worse. Well, no use staying like this. You stretch, arms going over your head and joints popping as they snap back into place, and roll over on your... Yeshin's phone is on the ground right next to your face. The post-coital haze dissipates in a flash. It's far too deliberate of a placement. Is this a trick? A dare? You stare at it, breath held still, waiting for something. Nothing happens. The solution dispenser is still on. You can't ignore it, Cecily. You can't not look. You have to know, to see it with your own eyes. The world slows to a crawl as you reach over and grab the cell phone. Staring at its blank screen, when you press the lock button on the side, you find it a matter of swiping your finger up and... there it is. Yeshin's phone, unlocked, not even set with a password. Calculated. You start looking through her message history. Old conversations, newer ones. Some cases you're familiar with, some you are not, some you pried out of her mouth yourself. And then, in the midst of your scrolling, you spot it, a familiar handle, painted in a colour that makes you think of bile. You stare at the messages until they're seared on your retinas. The shower runs in the background, accompanied by cheerful humming. Your vision blurs. Idiot. Of course it's her. You knew this. You've known this for some time now, longer than you'd care to admit. My nose is bunged up. You let your feelings cloud your judgment. You ignored the glaring Yeshin-shaped blind spot in your perception. There was a meme that's like a big book that's like Operation Snowbound Blood, and like a small book that said Operation Snowbound Blood if Cecily didn't lose all critical thinking skills the second she saw Yeshin's bazongas in that dress. It was obvious, has always been obvious. Stupid, stupid. She has been playing you like a fool this entire time. And it makes you furious. Oh no, not the brutality. The rage that swells up inside you is as sudden as it is all-encompassing. It roils, threatens to boil over. Your arm spasms with the aborted impulse to throw her phone against the wall. Don't kill her. No, you are the chief regulator, you tell yourself. Not a blunt weapon, you are a blade. So you take the white-hot feeling inside of you and temper it, sharpening it to a fine point. I need to blow my nose, but I only have wet wipes. There's a case to solve, and there's a criminal in your home. You delete all of her precious root data before you place her phone back on the table. Oh no, 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 she's gonna kill her! Oh my god, no! Then you get up and grab your holster and Proserpina's sheath. You walk toward the sanitization chamber door. You ready your weapon and you wait. Oh no, no. The solution dispenser turns off. You hear the stall open, some gentle rustling and the padding of soft footsteps. Don't fucking kill her. Yeshin opens the door and an ammonia-scented steam wafts around her. She has to stop dead in her tracks to avoid impaling herself on the tip of your sword. Her immediate reaction is to blink at you several times, almost disbelieving. She glances down at the edge of the blade pointed at her throat and lets out a low chuckle. Well, 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 aren't we spicy today? Already gearing thyself up for round 2, art thou, you little wench? You press Proserpina against her, almost hard enough to break skin. No, don't kill Yeshin! Her smile dropped. Help. Okay, what's going on here, girl? I like it. Oh, I like it dangerous and all, but you look like you might actually mean it this time. Getting some real platonic hate vibes right now. Shut up. Stop talking. Her lips curl up in mild distaste, but you don't give her the chance to get a word in. Do you realise the magnitude of what you've done? What your little information broker side gig might have unleashed on the planet? How many lives you've endangered due to your pointless law-breaking and thrill-seeking? I hope it is not fucking breaking everyone's ears. Do you even care? The words hang between the two of you for all of 2 seconds before a guffaw bursts from her mouth. You watch mute as she wipes a fake tear from her eyelashes and puts a hand on her hip, shooting you a pitying look. Cecily, don't tell me you buy that crap about the spooky vial with magic powers. It's a stolen thing, love, and thousands of things get stolen every night. You grit your teeth. Underneath your skin, your blood boils. Sure, it's a valuable historical artifact or whatever, and I don't see you giving a great deal of a shit about academia on the regular. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you hardly read at all. It interrupts your brooding. Oh, what the fuck? You slam your left elbow against her collarbone, pinning her to the doorframe in a brusque motion. Her back cracks, the sound echoing through the room, and she lets out a pained grunt through gritted teeth. You have no idea what you're talking about. I have been on this case for over a blink. I've interviewed suspects. I've searched far and wide. Oh, what is that what this is about, Chief Regulator? Do you want my testimony? She spits the word with venom, glaring at you, smile as sharp as a knife. Fine, I'll give it to you so you can put it on record, all official-like. I know you love your protocols. Ideal information, done it for around 8 sweeps, and you've known for 4. I dare say I'm responsible for making your career that much more exciting. You're very welcometh. Anyway, some crazy cultists wanted this thing so bad they were willing to kill for it. Got a weird kid with tech skills to dig up their dirt for them. Weird kid was happy to pass along a handsome reward to whoever was willing to help. And a charming rogue with a spreadsheet full of route assignments just so happened to notice that a high-sec convoy was diverted. Voila, there's your case. Wrap it up in a bow while you're at it. Your hands are shaking. Your mouth twists into a snarl, and you press your sword against her skin. A trickle of carmine... Is it carmine or carmine? I don't fucking know or care. Travels down her throat. She holds your gaze, prideful, never breaking eye contact, daring you. You like to think yourself so above it all, it makes me sick. You're nothing but a selfish liar and a cheat, Yeshin. Nothing. She rolls her eyes. Ugh, I hate when you moralise. Please don't give me the spiel, Cecily. Those guys were going to extract their precious info no matter what, with or without me. I just know to take an opportunity when I see it. Besides, this is all just a game to you. You want to solve complicated problems and feel smart while doing it. The righteousness that comes with the job is a nice bonus too, I bet. Really, this Ormsey fucker is giving you everything you've ever wanted. You should be thanking him. So how about you learn to do a little self-reflecting the next time you feel like throwing accusations at me? And don't you ever put your sword to my neck over shit like this again. Not unless you want to work out a safe word first. You are not proud of this moment. You wouldn't want us to see it. What happens? What? Oh my god, what the fuck? A gush of red decorates her cheekbone. Adrenaline burns in your veins. Your pulse erratic, blood pusher hammering against your ribcage. She slowly lifts her hand, clutching at the void where her left eye sat moments ago. Well, just like my shut up! And starts laughing. Yes, laughing like she just heard the most side-splitting, hilarious punchline of her whole life. Bile claws at your throat, but you swallow it down. You don't have time to feel sorry. Not for her, not for yourself, not for Repetan. You have to find Ormsey Mort. You have to focus on the case. You have to leave. Her one-eyed gaze, a highway flare piercing like an accusation, drills into you as you slip your coat over your shoulders. Man. The lilting voice, faux saccharine, follows you as you exit through the door. Loveth thou, sweetheart? Jeez. Jesus Christ. I'm gonna eat my I can't remember what accent. I'm gonna eat my shorts. That's some dang impressive regulating. Yeah, it's my boy! It's my boy Necron! Yes! 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 Okay, you heave a deep sigh, grateful when it gets swallowed by the roar of the engine. You wish you could share his enthusiasm, but you feel hollow, gouged out, every bit of you scraped raw and aching. Your earlier anger has drained out of your system along with the adrenaline. The absence is as painful as a phantom limb. It doesn't matter, not long now. You've just finished reporting the latest developments to Necron. You received a call from Crichton regarding the information that you needed. You have Ormsey's location. You try not to think about how stilted the call was or how the tension was an almost palpable third participant in your conversation. There are a lot of things you try not to think about lately. You tell yourself you were in the right, you did what was necessary, and if people disagree with it, well, that's hardly your fault. It is, it's police brutality. You doing okay, boss? You're looking real grim. I'm a professional. I don't see that I should be whooping and hollering for doing my job. Well, ouch! Ain't nothing bad about a healthy dose of excitement, Regulator. It's been a tough case. Reckon we've earned as much. You don't have it in you to argue with him. You look out through the window instead, letting your gaze slide over the dark landscape. Your hand is wrapped around your rapier's hilt, but there is no trace of the comfort the contact usually brings. You cleaned the blade meticulously after you left your apartment. You didn't stop even when you were sure there'd be no trace of blood left. You want to clean it again. Necron. Aye, boss. You pause, unsure how to express what you want to ask. Outside, the neon lights of the stronghold cast jagged shadows between the buildings. How far are you willing to go to do your job? Far as I have to, really. It's pretty straightforward, ain't it? Stop the bad guys, protect the good guys. It does sound straightforward when he puts it like that. The plain, earnest sentiment would be endearing if it wasn't so hopelessly naive. There's a part of you that wants to make him see all the shades of grey between his black and white. See you. Maybe if he does, he'll tell you that you're still one of the good guys. Or maybe it'll be yet another confirmation that you've been right to work alone. How do you tell them apart? He opens his mouth to answer, pauses, closes it again. He lets out a brief chuckle as he mulls over the question. You know, I'd have thought there'd be a simpler answer to that one. But there's always lots of ifs and buts, ain't there? There sure are. At the end of the day, I reckon it's a matter of how many people you hurt and why. Everyone ends up hurting others at some point, but if it's a lot of hurt and they do it on purpose, they're obviously not very good, right? Hurting people for fun, that kind of shit, is a no-no. What accent am I giving him? What about people who end up hurting others as part of their duty to protect the vast majority? He casts you a long sideways look, you pretend not to notice. I'd say if someone uses their duty as an excuse to hurt others, they're not very good at fulfilling said duty. Protecting the vast majority is all well and dandy, but you can't go around hurting people who are also a part of that majority. That makes sense? Yes. He's much too young to realise how impossible this is to put into practice. It's a lofty ideal to be sure, but lofty ideals only get in the way when you need to make tough decisions. When all's said and done, I try to make the sort of decisions that'll keep me at peace with myself, you know? If I ever fall short of what I believe in, it'll be because I wasn't strong or fast or smart enough to do it, not because I compromised what I thought was right. I see. It's easy to let yourself believe you and Necron are similar, that you can see your younger self reflected in him, but you're not. It's clear that at your core you're very different people. A meaningful, lasting understanding of any sort is inherently impossible. Man. The rest of the ride passes in silence. A hot gust greets you into Repeton Corporation's halls. Conditioned air creeps around your exposed face and doesn't quite reach the back of your neck. Colossal temperature regulation systems battle the season to a calculated lukewarm. Maintenance drones live longer. Bureaucrats can pull triple shifts without collapsing. Summer or winter, here your coat is always comfortable. It feels like it's been blinked since your last debriefing. In truth, only a little over a week has passed since you reported the Valtel-Gertie incident. You're hardly awake then, perched for balance on the shoulders of a rambunctiously victorious Necron. The corporation's antiseptic ambience breached. It's been blinked since you've had a normal debriefing. The uninterruptible din of office life harmonises the clacking of your boots against tile. Ring binders snap open. Chairs squeak. Some poor distracted soul spills soda straight from the boiler onto their slacks. Fresh death pours into the abandoned masonry beyond city limits, 2 murders floating on a river of countless suicides. The warmth of ebbing life scalds a rainbow wound across Stronghold 21's blanket of snow. Corporation HQ towers hundreds of floors above street level. From this vantage point, Stronghold 21 is a panoply, I don't know, of nightlife colour. No details to make out, no corpses gone cold in the snow. The city bleeds, its blood pusher, none the wiser, keeps beating. You ensure its steady rhythm from the shadows, the invincibility of your work, a mark of its efficiency. You take pride in efficiency. Welcome, Cecily. Sestro and Hamifi sit across from each other, facing an unoccupied chair near the door. That's a surprise. Usually your debriefings entail Hamifi alone. Please, have a seat. You don't have the words to inform him that you would prefer to stand without sounding snide. You have hope yet that this will be a normal debriefing. Irritating your superiors is unlikely to help with that. It's good to see you in fine health. Sestro's ill-hidden grimace betrays him. At best, your current state could be generously described as in one piece. I've recovered from the worst of my injuries. That's good to know. Sestro and Hamifi exchange looks. Something passes between them, something that you can't quite pass despite having attended them since grubhood. Then Hamifi turns towards you. That look you know well. Would you mind summarising the events of Operation Snowbound Blood for us? You would like nothing better. Recall Operation Snowbound Blood. You close your eyes and sink into the dark. On the 12th night of first Eigenblink, the corporation received an automatic cargo truck emergency signal originating in the northern wastes. The truck's driver and both of its guards were found executed with no signs of a struggle. Only one item was missing: the filter of the Vivifier's blood. Nothing else was disturbed, suggesting the burglars were aided by insider information. On my way from the crime scene to corporation headquarters, I received a call from an unidentified figure. He implied that my personal involvement with the case was not a coincidence, and he provided me with an address to visit within 2 days. During the interim, I interrogated suspects from a list provided by Miss Heckrix, Rypite Koldan and Siraj Feltry. You consider informing them of Feltry's criminal past. Siraj has entrenched herself in a perfectly middling management position, content with making her matesprit happy. Rypite would be quite lost without her. You could never settle for such bloodless redemption. But perhaps she can. Both of which turned out to be dead ends. As did Bitcoin Crypto, despite his storied past as a dealer of illicit goods. One of these days, Crypto. One of these days. 2 days after receiving the anonymous call, I headed to Idolic Acres, a farm hosting a small group of children, led by one, Husk Maisie. Here I received another anonymous taunt, this one aimed at a personal acquaintance, Orica Rost. Orica! Having received ultimatums of her own, Rost equipped her hive's entrance with an automated defence system which unwittingly turned upon me. The threat ostensibly levelled at Rost had in fact been an elaborate ploy to eliminate me. I avoided sustaining anything worse than moderate injuries and received first aid once I'd assured Rost's safety. Best not tell them about the band-aid. I verified Crypto's alibi with his mates Britt and Dari Vernier, who revealed a history with a purportedly disbanded cult known as the Mora. According to him, former Mora members have a vested interest in obtaining life-extending artifacts such as the Vivifier's blood. I secured more extensive healthcare from my Moirel, Mashiri Labetta, as well as a series of potential leads to pursue. On Miss Heckrix's orders, I paid a visit to Osseous Coliad, a haematologist under the corporation's employ, and matesprit to Elsie Rains, the Vivifier's only descendant, whose birth marked her ancestor's death. 2 lives irrevocably intertwined, one whose protection you've been tasked with. Upon them hinges the fate of all Repeton, so the executive told you. But you are not acting on his word alone. Under your protection, Rains and Coliad will receive what every bond deserves: freedom from the turmoil of corporate politicking, to not be a pawn in someone else's game. To go off the record, Dr. Colliard's life extension research, though suspicious at a glance, was unrelated to the case. In fact, the tip suggesting he be investigated came from none other than my anonymous harasser, who contacted me as I left the doctor's hive. I followed his directions to Cadlis Rancor's hive. Rancor styles himself a seller of potions, none of which held a drop of the Vimfire's blood. However, he supplied me with a name for my pursuer: Noxious. It was at this point that I recalled overhearing an exchange of information during the latest Awards for All celebration and questioned Roru Dursol, the head chef in charge of the night's catering. I was hoping he could fill in the gaps left by an unfortunate interruption, but he had little to add. Rost connected me with her mate Sprit, a vigilante by the name of Necron Exmort. We discovered that the Harbingers have struck an alliance with the Mirthomaniacs. We ambushed a group of cultists, including a woman whom I had spotted stalking me during my interview with Vernier. This woman referred to herself as Talald, and one of her Mirthomaniac companions, presumably the leader, as Pozzol. Talald and Pozzol escaped with a book Exmort claims is of great import. As far as I could glean, said book grants some sort of extra-natural control over space. Jurbat Batrav's commune was a false alarm. Though they are running a religious operation, it appears to have no connection to either cult. Vernier placed a distress call for an acquaintance, Valtel Gertie, who had fallen victim to Noxious's manipulation. Gertie was in immense distress and reacted violently to our presence. Your presence? Exmort rescued me from an assault by Gertie's paralytic survival ability. To think you were reticent to accept Necron's aid at first. It hurts to admit, but he saved your life on more than one occasion, and that is after you nearly left him to die at the cultist's hands. At his behest, sure, still. He will endanger himself again, it's inevitable, given his daredevil propensities and his signing on for Operation Snowbound Blood's final strike. With any luck, this time you'll be the one rescuing him, then you can call it even. I requested the aid of Sabine Berare, who possesses a contraption that allows him to pluck detailed audio information from memories. Once I'd compared Noxious's dissolve sigil against the sigil database, you are not about to tell Hamifi how, I identified our prime suspect as Ormsey Mort, male, 8 sweeps, olive blood. With this information, I asked a programmer, Crichton Lydian, to decrypt Mort's physical location. In order to upgrade my arsenal before confronting Mort, I patronised Hyan Rufero's establishment. Though I ultimately did not acquire weapons, Rufero suggested I look into my closest available logistical connection who also happened to be present at the Awards for All event. You don't wince. You don't drum your fingers on your palms. You're in a memory very far away watching the inevitable unfold. My Kismissus, Yeshin Lavis, sold Mort the cargo truck's route. She confessed as much when I confronted her some hours ago. All that remains is to compel Ormsey Mort into compliance. Exmort and I will track him down according to Lydian's information. Russ and Libetta are sheltered in Lydian's hive. They are to operate as communications experts in case backup is required. Mort shields himself behind a disproportionate illusion of power afforded by anonymity and access to privileged information. It is impossible for him to emerge victorious to physical confrontation. God, whenever I talk for this long, I get all bugged up. From the start, Noxious only ever had one strategy, laying trap after trap. You faced each trap in turn, not always willingly, not always emerging unscathed, but always enduring. And every gambit requires a sacrifice. Noxious no longer holds any pieces. I wish I had a fucking tissue. He is a king alone, incapable of winning and too conceited to play for stalemate. I request immediate authorization to terminate Operation Snowbound Blood with prejudice. You open your eyes. Hamifi writes down your report's final points. Sestro simply stares at you. Then he clears his throat as he sometimes does before a speech. Authorization denied. It blindsides you like few things ever do, like the deferred pain of discovering a stab wound in your ribs after a fight. Hamifi on autopilot scribbles a final pen stroke. She looks up from her clipboard wearing a rare expression of transparent shock. Mr. Enthal? Cecily, you look just like what your profession warrants of you. Close to death and emotionally compromised. You needn't worry about me, Mr. Anthol. I've lived through worse. I really don't think that's true. Actually, I'd say I know it isn't. Because I've known you all my life, Cecily. You used to take care of me when I collapsed. We have similar strengths in memory, do you remember that? Apogee or perigee, every time I faded in and out of consciousness, I would find you wide awake by my coop day after day. When I was a kid, I thought that you exemplified what I was meant to be, that you just didn't get tired, and that at some point I wouldn't either. Now we're here. If I could have known the way you'd look right now... Sestro doesn't bother hiding his sigh. You are the single most devoted troll in all of Repeton. Thank you, sir. No, that's not good. You always act like you'd be willing to sacrifice anything if you thought you had to. If your duty compelled you to. I will make no further sacrifices. Every variable has been accounted for. Please don't pretend that you're invincible, especially when I know you're not. An icy pit of anger gathers in your chest. Your shoulders are tense. You're trying very, very hard not to ball your hands into fists. I am Chief Regulator, the closest thing to invincible on the corporate roster. And in the frankly improbable case that that were not enough, I have gone so far as to arm myself with backup. I can't send you off to a confrontation I don't fully understand. As far as I know, all you're doing is getting yourself into a mess that's going to drag you under. If not physically, then mentally. With all due respect, Mr. Enthal, all that matters is that I know what I'm getting into. That's not true. And even if it was, why do you get to decide what should matter? Sestro's voice raises an octave. He runs a nervous thumb over his tie and lowers his volume. Your safety matters. We matter. And it's not whether you will or won't get hurt. You've already been hurt. I was worried sick about you that day when you came back from Valtel's mansion. If so, you did not show it. Because you never let me. All I can do is work and work until I pass out and hope that the next time we cross paths, I'll be able to do more than give you directives. I'm tired, Cecily. We can't bring personal feelings into this matter. You nearly jump at the sound of Hamifi's voice. Her eyes have been trained on Sestro this entire time. Sestro looks as shocked as you are. Ormsey Mort's network of power threatens the integrity of the Repeton Corporation at a critical juncture. We risk decades of work if we allow him to continue unabated. Work that has been in motion since before we even assumed our current positions. We cannot afford to discontinue Operation Snowbound Blood. Hamifi. Sestro. It takes a little too long for the words to leave Sestro's mouth. He looks at Hamifi with the same exhaustion that he emphasised earlier. You wonder if he thinks that she understands the point he believes he's making. A point that you don't quite understand yourself. This isn't just about the work. This is about us. Can you imagine what would happen if Cecily didn't come back? How long you'd have to work double duty because of my shortcomings in a period of civil unrest? Mr. Enthal, I cannot stress enough that I will return whole and healthy. Ormsey Mort is one man who I far surpass in combat experience. I have seized victory from much more pernicious opponents while suffering from far worse handicaps. Please, just call me Sestro. Sestro sounds spent. For a second he is 3 sweeps old again, asking you to carry him to his recuperatory. Hamifi only straightens up. You remember the last of her fidgets, touching her earrings soon after getting her lobes pierced before she perfected the art of commanding the room. If it would make you comfortable, Sestro. As I was saying, Miss Heckrix is correct. Justice cannot be occluded by personal feelings. Cecily, you're not a justice dispensing machine. I'm not sure what you want me to say here. You're a person, just like every other goddamn one of us. Just like me. You must understand that it's necessary for you to grow out of this mindset. You scoff. It's not diplomatic, but you can't help it. Everything Sestro understands about necessity he learned from you, and your lessons did not include backing off when the going gets tough. It might be hard to see this from the perspective of someone whose age just entered the double digits, but I don't need to grow out of anything. Evidently you do! Listen to yourself! Listen to how you're reacting to being told no for once! Count me not glad that you finally warmed up to decisive leadership. Sestro lays his hands flat on the table. His chest rises and falls at a heavy, intentional rhythm, the one you taught him to use when anxious. It's not enough to stop his shoulders from bunching up. Sestro rarely mulls over his words this much. A restrained yell etches his clenched teeth. That's that then. You never liked how I did things, so you're going to ignore official directives because I happen to be the one giving them. Sestro? Would you be more willing to take care of yourself if I convinced you I'm strong-arming you into it? Did that become the way things get done while I was comatose? On the contrary, that has always been the Enthal modus operandi. Hamifi's voice is as blade-sharp as a manicured nails digging into a clipboard. Do not talk to Sestro that way. You too, Hamifi? Here I thought I'd taught you to act as the voice of reason. What you taught me is to assist Sestro, whom the chief regulator is displaying unprecedented levels of insubordination against. Hamifi, please, this isn't about insubordination. Then let's stop wasting energy and order her to stay. She doesn't have to understand that this is for her own good. You can't believe this. Whatever happened to not bringing personal feelings into corporate matters? As the heir's advisor, I do not recommend cessating Operation Snowbound Blood, but nonetheless defer to his judgment once it has been made official. As his matesprit, do not talk to Sestro that way. And as your mentee, Hamifi looks you dead in the eye, the way she used to during training in the heavy second before allaying. Sweeps past between Hamifi first touching a blade and her managing to land a single blow on you. But she'd lock eyes with you, all bloody-minded grit, and you knew she had it in her. The eyeshadow is new. You were never one for heavy makeup. She learned that herself. I know that you would never approve of this behaviour, were you in a reasonable state of mind. This is a farce. I busy myself a half a blink and you go soft. I have worked tirelessly to protect the people I care about, including you. Your orders put me in harm's way over and over, and as did your disobedience of my orders. I warned you against following Noxious's instructions. By your own admission, following them nearly got you killed more than once. Glaring at me isn't warning me. And if I had communicated more clearly, would you have been more cautious? Action over apology, Hamifi. We've been over this. I acted according to valuable information. You would never have allowed me to be any more explicit with my concern. Not without a plan. There are ways to do this that don't require you to face an unknown opponent with your judgment clouded by emotional overinvestment. Ways that won't have you coming back to us in pieces. Because that's worked so fucking well for me in the past. Your solar plexus burns cold. Where is your solar plexus? I don't know. Every muscle in your body is locked helpless, stretched apart atom to atom by the inexorable weight of memory pulling you into the ground. Hamifi reels. Her grip on the clipboard relaxes millimetrically as she processes the immensity of what she has said. You bring a hand down on the table before Sestro is done opening his mouth. I have stood by as your negligence kills the people I care about one too many times. And yes, I mean your negligence, Mr. Enthal. I will abandon my tenure as Chief Regulator upon the completion of Operation Snowbound Blood. If I must expedite my resignation in order to operate unhampered by the morass of your indecision, I will. The Roboton Corporation has taken Alina, has taken 12 sweeps of my loyalty and more pounds of my flesh than I can count. But you have yet to take Proserpina. Sestro swallows through a massive knot in his throat. His hands are wrapped tight in a fist. His nerve isn't so easily found in the sea of factual outcome. Never has he raised his voice to you before tonight, more content to soak in what those without your similar penchant for knowledge would take as social ennui. He used to tell you all about what he learned while rigorously studying tomes inscrutable to those not destined for them. You were there when he finally unlocked his corpora. You laughed when he showed you crafted projections of your working schedule on a week-long past because he memorized it for you, and there were only so many people he could show his pride to. This is not the same boy you once knew. Cecily, I didn't kill Alina. Please don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to us. This is about Alina. Every pierced blood pusher, every case closed, A lifetime of blood and thunder in her name. Her. This is about everyone. Everyone who could be receiving their loved ones in a body bag tomorrow so some faceless, self-important hacker can get his kicks. It's about everyone who thinks they have a right to trade life for money. It's about everyone. Concern for my health is secondary. I am built to bear the blows others cannot. And I could not even do that thoroughly. My own actions this past blink have brought many into the radius of danger. I must make right for the damage inflicted upon them. There is no making right for the damage inflicted upon me. But if stopping Noxious now saves even a single innocent life, then it will have been worth it. I have to see this through myself. For Alina. For good. Sestro buries his face in his hands. Hamifi moves close to him, rests her hand on his arm. The fight doesn't quite leave you, so much as crash into a catastrophic wave of regret. You'd vowed to protect them, to teach them to be strong. You think Sestro might cry, but his face is dry when he lifts it. He unscrews his eyes. There's no convincing you, is there? No. Every word Sestro speaks deflates him. Of course not. You've been convincing yourself you have to do this since before I was hatched. Whatever this is, everything, I guess, the whole of it. You're so stubborn, and so hard to reach. I only want you to keep being those things. I wish I could have done more, but it's up to you now. Like it always is. Please come back alive. I will. Promise it. You wish you could kneel and scoop them, both of them up into one great hug the way you used to. Oh my god. I know I haven't been reacting, but I've been getting into fucking the dialogue and that. A desert of cold, burnished metal separates you. You rest your eyes on the dead air between Sestro and Hamifi. I promise to make things right. And I always keep my promises. Hamifi looks at you downcast. Sestro takes a heaving sigh. Good luck then. Fuck. Man, that was deep, that was heavy. You open the door to the conference room with deliberate calm as you thumb your gun's outline tucked in your holster. Unlike some of the Regulation Force's more gauche elements, you don't notch the handle. 222 kills confirmed over the course of 103 successful operations. Man. One to go. Nothing inside that I can see. Necron peeks across the dunes through a pair of binoculars, sprung fully formed from his mechanical hand he never ceases to amaze. Shall we move in then? Might be aces if we check in with the team first, make sure we're all square. Your glances over to the decrepit apartment building Mort is hidden in. The facade is crumbling, the lights are off, it may not even have electricity. You nod at Necron and click your radio on. This is Porker. Come in, Onion. Hi, Porker. Is everyone alright over there? So far, our presence remains undetected. We walked the last of the way to avoid the noise of Hambone's truck giving us away. She's a big un. Hi, Net Hambone. Lettuce in position. Lettuce in position. Though I'm unsure what I'm supposed to be doing. You are to act as information handler in order to account for any unexpected movements from the target. Right, unexpected. I hope nothing happens. I'd hate for anyone to get hurt. It's a lovely sentiment, the kind only a civilian could come up with. The objective is to minimise extraneous casualties. Dijon mustard. Dijon mustard. Ready, willing and able. All communications logged. Orange bouncy spheres in our rebound pit regulator. You nod. We'll update you when we move in. Team Cold cuts out. Take care, Hambone, and you too, Porker. Then it's just you and Necron, the whisper of sand against the dunes, and your quarry. Yo, Cecily. I know the codenames are absurd, Hambone, but let's observe basic OPSEC. With a series of clicks, the binoculars collapse into Necron's hand. What are you looking to get out of this? Is now the best time? When's the best time? Perhaps when we aren't imminently facing down our quarry of 2 blinks. That's just the thing. One way or another, this whole investigation's ending right here. When I finish a job, I know I always got something to look forward to. My truck, my friends, my girl. It ain't much, but it's mine. And it keeps me going. Yay, Necron! What are you looking forward to after all? This is all said and done. The fulfillment of justice is its reward enough. His shoulders heave with a sigh. You know that ain't what I mean. All this fighting you've been doing over the past however long you've been at this, you always say it's for corporate. I'm retiring. Necron brightens up. Looks like we wicked can rest after all. If there ever was something to look forward to, it's a tad of R&R. I won't be resting. I'll be taking on an extraordinary case in perpetuity. Oh. Necron puts his hand to his chin, as he does when he's deep in thought. Then you're retiring in name only, Regulator. This is different. I'll be protecting 2 kids, barely even old enough to stop qualifying for corporate aid. My skill set is efficient, but narrow. This is the only application of it that I can imagine would do our world any good. That's something you believe about yourself? What? About your skill set. Old Bat Beast can learn new tricks. You glare. Necron raises his hands. Whoa, not that you're not mighty sprightly. Everyone is, in my opinion, till they croak. Hell, you're only maybe halfway to real old. Point is, you're not done till you're done, and I don't see you done anytime soon. If anyone out there can keep going, it's you. I know you got more than sword fighting in you. No troll does just the one thing, because we're trolls, not machines. Even I ain't all machine. Necron raises his mechanical arm. You snort. He smiles, sincere but strained. Necron. You've taught yourself everything you know. You have the luxury of a freewheeling mind. Everything I know was taught to me by corporate teachers in corporate halls for corporate purposes. How can I wield my blade in a way that isn't corporate? All I can do with what I've been given is carve a path for someone else, and hope they'll walk in it with clarity of purpose. Necron opens his mouth to say something, then trails off. You follow his gaze towards Ormsey's hideout, and back to you. You know, I used to think that too, back when I was packaging customer orders all day feeling trapped, like there was nothing else to life. I've been a screw in this sprawling mechanism all my life too, all trolls are. I'm not going to preach and say I've broken out, but I've found a way to feel sustained. We don't front this gig to make up for lost time. It's just about doing right from here on, for the ones you love, yeah, but most of all for yourself. Then why are you on a corporate case? For you, Cecily. I've got a good feeling that the damn best regulator that ever lived could be the damn best at anything else she wants. You don't gotta figure out what that is now. Just know that for as long as it takes you to do it, I'll be fighting right next to you. Aw, Necron offers you his hand. No matter the cost. It's not often you hesitate before a handshake. It's not ever that you've let someone else fight for you. You take his hand in yours, looking him in the eye. His grip is strong and sure, full of fire. He has your back, and you know this is the way you know all your true hunches, instinctively. Then I'll have your back too, partner. The second you let go of Necron's hand, the radio pipes up. Come in, Porker. This is Dijon Mustard. Requesting removal of the Dijon Mustard designation, Necron coughs into his fist. Granted. Can I still be Lettuce? I've always wanted a code name. You are Lettuce until further notice. To be honest, not sure about Onion myself. Kind of stinky. This is not pertinent to the mission. What steamed ham would be complete without the onion? Ew, I always take them out. Keep this channel clear, Cecily. For essential communication. A moment. In private, if you will. The call hushes. Necron shoves his hands into his pockets, conspicuously inconspicuous, and walks out of earshot. Granted. Oh, 1 second. Crichton handles setting up a new private channel. Miss Lebetta, we'll let you know when you've signed off. Lettuce, over and out. Oh my god. Then it's just the two of you. You keep your hand off the talk button, unsure what this is about. How have you been? Preoccupied. Your capability for understatement remains unchallenged, but we already knew that. It's hard to focus on anything other than the mission, considering our current juncture. Yes, I expected you would want to clear your thoughts in private, for much the same reason. You can hear Mashiri's kindly smile through the speakers. Even if you could forget faces, hers would be one of the last to go. This is a mission like any other, Shiri. I'll be in and out before you know it. You know every mission worries me. You've gotten good at not showing it. And you at knowing when she's not showing it. You've never been good with people, but after 10 sweeps of more allegiance, you can't not pick up on some of her tricks. I don't want my worry to interfere with your work. Worry can be handled. You're the one whose job requires, to put it lightly, snap decision-making. You've never interfered. Or rather, it's a pleasure every time you do. I don't mean to imply that you're interfering, that is to say, it's merely a manner of speaking. You let go of the talk button, feelings tangled on your tongue. You know she's on the other side of the call, chuckling, not pressing the talk button out of politeness, unfailingly considerate. All the purity of soul the sweeps have taken from you, they have granted to her. This will be over soon, and I am fully glad for it. You have never taken any rest you did not want to take, and I can hear that want now in the edges of your voice. You are right. You often are. I can't wait to see you again. Even if we just met, I expect an afternoon for just the two of us with no pressing matters to attend to. No business to tangle your tea time with. Mea culpa in that regard. The radio crackles with ever-present static. You will always have a home in me, Lily. Aww. The radio beeps, letting you know Mashiri is signed off. With an unhidden sigh, you follow her lead. Time to put an end to this. You carefully gather your emotions, pluck the thoughts buzzing in your head like a persistent insect and put them away. You have no need for them past this point. The only thing that matters now is the case. That the information Crichton got you has led you to this place. An old hive in a state of disrepair, long abandoned by all but the occasional person squatting in the doorway, as evidenced by the musty sleeping bag on one side and the empty beverage containers scattered throughout. As you walk past them, the stench of rot and decay forces its way into your windpipe. You grimace, but don't slow down even as Necron groans under his breath. Gross. You stop in front of a door covered with faded graffiti and rimmed with rust. However, its poor appearance belies a solid, sturdy construction. You twist the handle, but it's locked. You give the door itself a firm shove, but it doesn't budge either. Why did I expect this to be... Click. The lock starts turning, and there's a series of mechanical clicks, each seemingly louder than the last. Then with a final whir, the door opens. Easy. Beside you, Necron chuckles under his breath. Looks like you were right to. You push the door open all the way and creep inside. Keep your guard up, he knows we're here. Aye aye. You find yourself in a dark, narrow entryway. The ceiling hangs low above your head, and the air is cold and thick with the smell of chemicals. Bleach. Plain floor, plain walls. Something used to hang on the wall to your left, but it's long gone. Only a few holes remaining where there used to be bolts. A few steps further in, there's a door to the left, but it's melded shut. The only way forward is a steep, narrow staircase to the front. You approach it. At the base of it, you lift your foot up, but a metallic glint gives you pause. A thin string of metal is stretched just above the first step, taut and ready for the accidental footfall. One of its ends disappears into a hole in the wall. You point it out to Necron. Mind the tripwire. Oh, good call, Chief. Your eyes still do their job. Straining your vision for any more traps, you begin your ascent up the stairs. Necron follows. He doesn't say anything more, and you're grateful for the silence, hoping that it means he's also paying attention. Crichton's voice sounds in your ear. Is everything alright so far? Everything's fine. We're progressing through the building. The staircase climbs up as a steep incline. There are 13 steps in each flight, with 2 flights between the doors. The landings between them are as nondescript as the stairs themselves. You go up one floor, then a second and a third one. 78 steps, each one precise and measured. Slow, but only slow enough to scan each slab of concrete before you place your foot on it. You don't see any more traps and arrive at the top of the stairs unscathed. You stand in front of another door, smooth, solid white, firmly shut. It does not have a handle or a keyhole that you can see. Pressing a hand to it and giving it a push does not accomplish anything either. To the side of it is a small panel that you initially dismissed as a doorbell. A second, more careful look reveals that it's a scanner, pulsating with a sharp green light. It's not big enough to place your whole hand on, but perhaps a single finger might fit. You put your thumb over the beep scanner. There's a flash of red light, a beep, and then silence again. That would have been too easy. As the light returns to its expectant green, you feel Necron's eyes boring into your back, observing you as you observe the scanner. Eyes. You let your hand drop back to your side and take a step closer. Necron seems to have come back to the same conclusion because his loud whisper breaks the silence. Cecily, I don't think that's a good idea. You don't bother with a response as you remove your visor from your eye and lean down towards your scanner. You hesitate only for a moment, a pause between two breaths long enough to notice the fear and dismiss it, and position your right eye in front of the scanner. The burst of red light straight into your pupil is blinding. Your mind can come up with a dozen different scenarios, some of them alphabetically by probability or by amount of damage done. A burst of toxic gas bursting from the panel and into your lungs, choking you before you can hold your breath. An explosion activated by the scanner input blowing you back down the stairs in a mess of shattered bones and scorched skin. A thin, sharpened metal rod springing out by an unseen mechanism to sink deep into your skull. Instead, there's another different beep and the clicking of a locking mechanism moving. The door opens. You straighten back up, your eye intact, and if there's some cruel irony to that, you pretend not to notice it. Jesus. Waving Necron along, you cross the threshold. It does not come as a surprise when the door shuts behind you. Getting it open again is a problem you're going to worry about later. The smell of bleach is stronger inside the unit, the chemical so dense in the air that it makes your eyes and throat burn. You blink the discomfort away to take stock of your new surroundings. You stand in another hallway, dark and empty, devoid of furniture. There is nothing that stands out. For all you're able to see, this place has stood uninhabited since the construction of the building, or any sign of life has been meticulously stripped away. All good still? All good. Luckily, he manages to contain his excitement in a whisper. Ooh, this is scary. Necron in tow, you take a few careful steps farther into the space. Here too, you don't notice any traps. There are 3 doors that you can see, 2 to the left and 1 to the right. They all seem identical to you, with no indication as to which is the correct one. Whether there is a correct one at all. But you need to make a decision, oh god. Let's take the first door on the left. You point towards the door. Let's look there. Necron's already moving to open it. Part of you is certain the handle won't budge, but it gives with a quiet sigh. Necron gives you a thumbs up over his shoulder. For a single moment, your stomach plummets into your heels as you think he's going to walk in without looking, straight into the myriad of traps you can envision waiting on the other side. Then thankfully he turns back ahead and pushes the door open another notch. There's nothing but darkness beyond it, but you both peer inside, trying to make out the interior by the murky light of the hallway bleeding in. All you see is the barren floor and walls. Necron opens the door all the way. There's a whir of a fan and the room is suddenly bathed in a low blue light. A singular laptop sits on the floor in the middle of the room, its screen angled towards the door but too far for you to see anything on it. Alright, that's creepy. He's right, but you don't say that as you inch into the room to get a better look. Even for a technology neophyte such as you, it is clear that this device is neither new nor in particularly good shape. It's scratched up, the letters on the keyboard have faded, and the old glow of the screen fades in and out like an old bulb. It seems to be on the verge of breaking down for good. You squat in front of it to get a look at the monitor. There only seems to be one program open, and you recognise the same chat client you've seen on others' computers. The window displays a series of handles, a chat history, line after line of colourful usernames composed in a similar pattern. You see Orica's handle. You see another 20 handles, more of them as you scroll down. You don't bother counting them. You don't need to count them for the bile to make your mouth burn again. Umpsy's victims, listed out for your benefit and his sick amusement. How many of them were as lucky as Orica and Crichton, able to protect themselves and resist his manipulation? You push back into an upright position. Your foot is aching to kick into the flickering screen, but you resist the urge. You keep the string of your rage drawn taut. This is going to end tonight. You will end it tonight. You can wait until then. You storm back to the door. Whatever Necron sees in your face, it keeps him quiet. Let's try one of the other ones. Second door on the left. You motion to the second door and Necron confirms with a nod. The metal handle is cool against your skin when you reach out and grab it. It seems stiff with disuse, but turns once you apply more force. You open it a sliver and peer into the room beyond. In the dim light that makes it past you, you make out the outlines of a narrow cubicle space. Cabinets line the wall and a rickety-looking old desk occupies most of the space in the middle. After you've made sure there aren't any tripwires ahead, you step inside. The space is clearly styled after the cubicles assigned to regulators, but it seems older, like something out of a vintage movie. There are several folders strewn across the desk, along with what looks to be pictures and cutouts. You pick up one of them and hold it to the light. Crichton's spectacled face is grinning at you from the picture. The sinking feeling in your chest, you put it back down. In another picture, you can make out Siraj and Ripite. In another one, Valtel standing next to one of his sculptures. It's the people you interviewed for the case. Driven by a morbid curiosity, you reach out for one of the folders. Just before you touch it, you notice a shimmer running down its spine, a wire almost imperceptibly thin. Its end disappears in one of the desk's drawers. A closer look reveals more wires wrapped around the folders, the handles of the drawers, the surface of the desk itself. It's sheer luck you didn't touch one by accident. Cautiously, you take a step back. You will not risk touching anything else in here. Necron has lingered by the door and arches his brows at you in a silent question. Bombs. Yikes. That sums it up quite well, yes. You leave the room and Necron shuts the door behind you. Take the door to the right. You nod to the right. Let's try this one. Necron complies, stepping up to the door to gingerly crack it open. He frowns. Don't reckon this is the one, Chief. You'd have been more surprised if it had been. You look over Necron's shoulder at whatever lies beyond. You expected another room, but you're looking into a long, narrow hallway. There seems to be a door on the other side of it. You can make out a faint outline, like light pushing through the crack between door and frame. You aren't sure, however. Your vision is impeded by a web of laser beams crisscrossing from all directions down the length of the hallway. They glow a harsh, threatening red. When you blink, blots of green burn against your retinas. You stare into the hallway, straining to pinpoint a path between the lasers. They are very close together in a complex tangle, but maybe... Necron voices your conclusion before you can admit it to yourself. Ain't no way we're getting through there. We gotta look somewhere else. Part of you wants to risk it. Surely if you're careful, you'll find a way through to the other side. Surely even if you touch one of the lasers, nothing is going to happen. Surely this is all just an elaborate bluff. But you sigh, nodding to yourself as much as Necron, and step back. Somewhere else it is, then. You only hope there is another way forward. You've exhausted all of your options to no avail. There was nothing of worth behind any of the doors, and all that your attempts at investigating have yielded is the feeling of being stuck. You stand in the middle of the hallway, trying to determine what you've missed, what you can still do when a hissing sound attracts your attention. It comes from the end of the hallway opposite to where you came from. The end that appeared empty. As you watch, a panel slides out of the way and sinks into an invisible slot to the left. You expect to see another wall beyond it or perhaps a door, but there is an empty space instead, a second half of the hallway that was previously hidden. This is creepy. Necron stares at the space the panel was and then at you. That POS is fucking with us, ain't he? It's pathetic. Stay alert. For lack of a different option, you move down the path that was just open for you. All of your instincts honed over sweeps of fieldwork scream at you to stop, that it's a trap, that you're going right where your adversary wants you. You don't doubt that's the case, yet you don't stop. You scan your surroundings as you go, but they're just as barren as the rest of this space has been. There are no more doors either. Or rather, there is one more door. It's at the end of the hallway, a pillar of subdued blue light that blooms into sight as you close the distance. The pillar widens. You realise that the door is open. From the other side of it, a low sound reaches your ears. Static. It makes the hairs of your neck stand on end. As if having the same misgivings you probably do, you and Necron come to a halt outside of the aura of light streaming from the door. He looks at you, and there's no need for words. This is it. God, I always get fucking snotty when I talk for this long. You give him a nod. It's time to get this over with. You press your communicator button and release it without speaking. You repeat that 3 times. The way you agreed would mean approaching the target. Copy that. Her confirmation steals your resolve. You draw a single deep, slow breath. The bleach in the air burns its way deep into your lungs and then lingers there. You suppress your need to cough it out, to try to get rid of the sting. It's not important now. Your hand tightens around Proserpina's handle. Her time has nearly come. You go through the door and Necron follows. The static swells and engulfs you like thick, viscous liquid. For a moment, the singular sound, seemingly coming from all directions at once, overrides the rest of your senses. Then, several things happen at the same time. Oh no. Your surroundings resolve into a wide, dark room. A U-shaped desk covered with what seems like a dozen monitors takes up most of the space. Colours and movement flash on the monitors too quickly for you to make anything out. The door slams behind you. The shrill screech of audio feedback pierces your eardrum, so sudden and loud that you try to yank the earpiece out, but the sound cuts off before you can. Necron's groan from beside you tells you that the same happened to him. Finally, you have found your way to me, Cecily. I expected you to be faster. No matter. Did you enjoy the stage I set for you? It took quite a lot of effort to put together. You have made such a spectacle of chasing your own tail, so it seemed fitting to provide the decor. Now it's time for the final act to begin. You're scanning the room, turning this way and that, trying to locate the source of the voice, to no avail. It seems to come from all directions at once until you realise there are speakers in every corner. Ormsey is not here, only his great and contemptuous jeer. Where are you, you coward? Reveal yourself. Not so soon. Did you really think it would be so easy? Easy? You think everything about about everything that has happened since the beginning of this case. The insinuation that it's been easy makes you want to tear out your hair. The flashing lights of the monitors bores into your brain. It feels as though your nervous system is about to short circuit. I'm going to find you. Oh, you will. When I let you. All the monitors go black. The static ebbs. You should start looking now. Your time is limited. There's a click and a door on the opposite side of the room you hadn't noticed before swings open. Maybe you missed an essential clue along the way. With another fizzle of static, the speakers turn off. Silence envelops the room, its reign unchallenged even by your breathing. In your ears, your pulse is as loud as gunshots. Necron moves first, crossing the room to investigate the new door. A string of colourful expletives spills from his lips, and some distant corner of your mind that's observing the proceedings nods along with it. You join him at the door. It leads out of the building onto the metal landing of a fire escape. The rusted stairs lead down and disappear from sight. It must be another trap. You should turn back and return to the unit. There must be something there you missed. Well, Cecily, what's it going to be? Ormsey's voice, suddenly much quieter and coming from much closer, gives you a start. He's speaking directly into your earpiece now. Necron's lurch tells you he's also hearing him. Where are you going first? Figure out where to start your investigation. That is your job, isn't it? If I like your choice, I will start answering all those burning questions that you have. Wouldn't you like that? Your anger is nearly choking you. You want to throw your earpiece to the floor and grind it under your heel, and you want to do the same to Ormsey, but first you need to find him. You look at Necron, and he seems as lost and frustrated as you're feeling. We gotta find him, Chief. Your little sidekick is correct, Cecily. That's what you want, isn't it? Answers. Closure. Come and get them. You stand rooted in place for another moment, and then with a grunt you throw the door open all the way and head down the stairs. A gravelly laugh echoes in your ear. That's a good regulator. You grit your teeth, gripping the railing so hard that your knuckles crack. The stairs creak under Necron's weight as he jogs to catch up with you. He's blocking our communication with the others. We need to find a way to get rid of him. I can hear you, you know. If you want to find me, you have to do as I say. Or would you rather give up and let me have my fun with others? You have no choice. He's been toying with you this entire time, and if you don't want to waste your one shot at catching him, you must do as he says. The crime scene. Necron gapes at you, but then his shoulders sag. I'll go get the truck. You remember your very first case. It was sweeps ago, when the world seemed like a different place, or maybe like the same awful place, but one you could change if you tried hard enough. You still felt up to trying. You weren't perpetually tired, spreading yourself too thin between your nihilism and ego. That would come in time. No, during your first case you were anxious. You had spent the entire trip to the crime scene rapping your fingers against your palm, but even the rhythmic motion failed to dispel all the apprehension making your insides crawl. You had prepared for this, gone through your trainings, reviewed each procedure until you could recite the codes and paragraphs in your sleep. You had made a mental list of everything you needed to do in order of your importance. None of that mattered when you reached the location and your mind went completely blank. You had no idea where to begin. You feel the same way now as Necron's truck rolls into the spot you investigated so recently. The truck has been removed since, the dead bodies bagged up and returned to the stronghold. You wonder idly if their funerals have already taken place. You climb out of the truck and walk off, leaving Necron to trail behind you again. You're in no mood for talking and you do not want Ormsey listening. Is this intentional, or is this they've fucked up with the background placement or something? I don't know. However, you cannot walk away from the fact that there's nothing here worth seeing. So have you put together the details of how the theft occurred yet? I'm certain you have broad strokes figured out, but perhaps I can fill in the blanks. You scan the snowy landscape with unseeing eyes. The harsh, mocking voice in your ear is the focal point of your attention. Let's start from the top then. The first thing one needs to organise a theft is a man on the inside. Or in this case, a woman. Luckily for me, I already knew who to look for. I only needed to find her contact information, and you have already noticed that is something I excel at. You know who he's alluding to. Of course you know, but the next word still twists the blade that's already deep in your gut. Yeshin Lavis, a well-known weak link in corporate security, and yet you did nothing to stop her, did you, Cecily? Did it excite you to have a tryst with someone who could and did compromise everything that you worked for? Shut up. The internal conflict of it all, the drama, that was the closest you ever came to rebellion, wasn't it? Shut up. You don't wish to learn how it all happened, then? When you grit your teeth and fail to respond, Ormsey's sickening laugh fills your ear again. That's what I thought. Once I tracked down your darling Kismesis, the rest was easy. Yeshin was very obliging. She seemed so eager to give me what I wanted. Your whole body itches with the urge to hit him, to tear into him and slowly bleed him dry. So I was now in possession of the shipment timetables. I knew when and where I could procure the curious little package I was after. The spot you're standing at right now, the spot where you stood at the beginning of this, looking at the bodies of the people who lost their life because of Ormsey's twisted games. The next step was to actually do it. To find someone else to do it, you correct inwardly. I'm certain it comes as no surprise for the likes of you that it's very easy to make someone kill in your stead. As it was, I had the Myrthomaniacs for the job, ready to get their hands dirty not for money, but simply as a matter of conviction. Isn't it funny that in this way the four of them were more upstanding than Yeshin, who was so invested in her own profit? 4 Myrthomaniacs. The poor drivers hadn't stood a chance. For all their willingness, however, the Myrthomaniacs' notorious brutality was a point of some concern. A massacre would give up the game far too early. I found myself needing to devise a detailed plan for them to execute. Entry point, manner of disposing the drivers, exit. They were the most obedient pawns. I think they enjoyed the challenge. For all of the secrecy and security surrounding the shipment, it was almost too easy to get it. Acquire the information, forward it to my people on the ground, and then wait. A job like any other. It worked like, well, you already know that, don't you? It worked well enough to leave Chief Regulator Yapara stupefied and flailing for direction. Exactly the way I wanted you. For a moment you picture yourself like a puppet, strung up and made to play along with music you cannot hear, your wrists burn with phantom pain. Why? You spit the word out, though it's not directed at him. You aren't sure who it's directed at. Yourself? A world that cares as little about reason as it does about the well-being of its denizens. You don't expect an answer, but somehow that doesn't soften the blow of Omsi's vicious laugh. You're getting ahead of yourself, Cecily. I believe you have nothing else to see at the crime scene, do you? Time to look somewhere else. With an abrupt burst of static, the line cuts off. You're left in the desolation of snow and silence, alone with your own thoughts. A hand on your shoulder makes you snap out of your head. You turn to meet Necron's eyes, full of sympathy as well as the same anger that you know is smouldering in your own. Let's bounce. It's that anger that makes you listen. Oh yeah, that is intentional. The smell of blood lingers on the factory floor. Or maybe you're imagining it. The memory of the carnage that occurred here, the carnage you caused, is still far too fresh in your mind. You've come a long way from your first kill. You still remember it perfectly, of course. The rapier's handle in your hand, so familiar and yet heavier than ever. You lunge, a coil snapping, and the realization in their eyes that they had no recourse. The briefest moments of hesitation still in your hand before your blade found purchase beneath their clavicle. The wet resistance of flesh giving way. Their blood was teal-coloured, much like your own. It was that detail that stuck with you the longest. If the roles had been reversed and you had been on the pointed end of the blade instead, would you have looked very different, lying in a puddle of teal? You don't regret it, nor do you regret what happened in this factory. But retreading the stained floor still sends a chill down your spine. You resist the urge to reach for Proserpina. It would be seen as a sign of weakness and you're already at a disadvantage. As if on cue, Omsi's voice fuzzes into your ear. How fitting for you to return to this place, Cecily. I was certain you would. Did you enjoy killing all those evil cultists? It must have felt so righteous. You did. Not because you revel in the bloodshed or the feeling of control that having someone else's life in your hand gives you, but because it furthers your cause, claims another tile on the chessboard. You don't say any of that. You would rather die than give him the satisfaction. What are we looking for, Chief? Anything. You aren't deluding yourself that you're going to find something here. The only reason you're playing along with Omsi's game is to buy time until he slips. And he must slip. You must be wondering how I was able to make any cultists do my bidding. We all know they're not exactly cooperative. You're getting the distinct impression this man loves hearing himself talk. Well, as fate would have it, I had the upper hand. 2 sweeps ago I happened upon a remote server that was part of corporate's infrastructure, yet locked out of everyone's access. Well, almost everyone. Its contents was solely deleted information, waiting to be purged. The information pertained to a former member of the executive's inner circle, all traces of whose existence had been expunged since his disappearance. A former member of the executive's inner circle, the words send a shock through your system. The number of people who could be described as the inner circle of the executive is as limited as it is familiar to you. You are part of that circle in whatever capacity that serves its purposes, and as far as you're aware, there is one person that disappeared for it. I was able to track this individual down to a certain prominent cult. As you can imagine, knowing about his history provided certain leverage. The same kind of leverage he attempted to use with Crichton, dredging up his history to taunt and blackmail. This resulted in a highly beneficial business arrangement. Through the Harbingers and their partnership with the Myrthomaniacs, I had access to information that would otherwise be hard to come by, as well as to certain brute force whenever required. It was very convenient to have them steal the lime blood for me. It spared me the effort of finding and vetting my own cronies. Can you believe I never even saw the group that I made kill for me? I know nothing about them aside from their cult associations. I suppose that means you will never find out the identities of your perpetrators either. A shame. You refuse to rise to this bait. It doesn't matter whose hand that held the murder weapon was, your real target remains the man who gave the order. But who knows, they might have even been among the cultists you encountered here. You might have already avenged those poor truck drivers. Though I wonder if it counts as vengeance if it's merely indiscriminate slaughter. You were ambushed, you want to say, you were fighting for your lives. Necron's harrowed expression suggests he's thinking the same. Next destination, Cecily. The line goes quiet. Your head's hazy. Even as you give Necron directions, you aren't certain why this is the location you want to go to. Call it a hunch. Relying on your hunches has often served you right over the sweeps. Your brain is capable of noticing very many things at the same time, and sometimes it makes connections you aren't conscious of. Though the assumption that's the case right now seems too much like wishful thinking, it is much more likely that you're aware the choice doesn't matter. Indari's theatre is empty when you walk in, the darkness covering the space like a curtain waiting to be lifted. There's a single janitor sweeping between two rows of seats, but they take one look at you and I will never be able to pronounce this, rapier at your hip and make the soul scarce as rapier or whatever. Necron and you are alone. The familiar voice crackling in your earpiece quickly reminds you that's not the case. A theatre? How very dramatic of you, Cecily. Are you certain a thespian pursuit was not your true calling? And that's said by the man who has been soliloquying for what now feels like an eternity. What is this place, Ceci? You think of the dressing room meeting with Indari and his discomfort as he relayed his past to you. Somehow you're reluctant to name him. I met with someone who had cult experience here. Necron humps in a way that you interpret as fair enough. Perhaps he's also resigned to this all being a fool's errand. Ormsey speaks again. I will give you this much, Cecily. I could not have picked a more fitting place for this denouement? I don't know. You must be wondering at this point, why do any of this? Why orchestrate this entire spectacle for the benefit of a singular corporate pawn? What do I stand to gain? The world. Then time stops. Okay, no more, Jojo. His voice booms and echoes at the words, static flaring up in a discordant chorus. You're willing to bet he did it on purpose. My objective was to enthrall you all so thoroughly that you would stay out of another plot in play, one much larger in scope and in importance. A diversion. This was all a diversion? You can feel Necron's eyes on you. You refuse to meet them. You should feel special, Cecily. The world is about to change and you played one of the supporting roles. There must be something for you to say, but your thoughts fit together like the pieces of mismatched jigsaw puzzles. Necron is the first to break the silence. Change how? What are you talking about? You'll see. There are parties with certain knowledge of events that have yet to transpire, events that will change our reality forever. You've already met one of the main actors of this change, have you not, Cecily? I wonder, did you ever realise that, or were you too busy trying to solve your own little pointless mystery? Coliad, you rewind back to your meeting, to all that was said and all that wasn't. Could you have known? There was plenty of time for you to catch on, you know. I wondered if you might. My collaborators insisted on having contingencies in case you did. Could you have abandoned the case if you had realised its only purpose was to distract? You don't know. And you hate it. Don't beat yourself up too hard about it. When the future comes, you will be among the people who made it possible. Among the prophecies and powers that can alter the course of the world, the regulator who did her job too well. It would be almost impressive if it wasn't so pathetic. Your time is almost up, Cecily. Oh shit, is she gonna die? A set of coordinates appears on your visor. Back in Stronghold 21, you believe. Go to this location to begin the final act. The nausea has settled in your stomach, both heavy and burning. Each lurch of the truck makes you feel as though you're about to throw up your insides. You're so tired of this back and forth. So tired. Necron's usual optimism has been tempered as well. There's tension in the way he grips the steering wheel, and he stares straight ahead. You reach the stronghold just as it hits its rush hour. Trolls on the better end of their workdays stream from the office buildings into the street waiting for public transit. Bart. The billboards on the sidewalks and surrounding buildings seem to glow brighter. Skyrim! As though they know their target groups are more susceptible to promises of relief and entertainment after a long night of mind-numbing effort. It's probably on purpose. You leave the car a few blocks from your destination. It's as far into the stronghold as you can make it with a personal vehicle. You only need to walk a short distance. Walking brings some relief, but you still feel like your mind is at the far end of a very long tunnel. One way or another, this will be over soon. The thought is not as comforting as it should be. A crackle in your earpiece pulls your attention back to reality. You brace yourself for another one of Ormsey's monologues, but the distorted, choppy voice that reaches you is someone else's. Lee? Necron? Do either of you copy? Necron almost trips over his feet in his rush to respond. Orica, you okay? That son of a bitch cut off our comms. Forget about Ron. We have problems. We've been compromised. Even with every other word cutting out, you can make out the urgency in her tone. Need help. You need... over here, now. Necron is frozen in place, his eyes wide. You can feel your own blood pressure drumming against your ribcage. Orica, where are you? What's going on? You keep cutting out. Our coordinates. Ron, please come quickly. The line goes quiet again. Your mouth is coated with sandpaper and it takes you a few seconds to find your voice. Go. His frantic eyes meet yours. In them you recognise a panic so familiar that your breath catches. I can handle him. You need to go help her. Go. He only hesitates for another moment before he gives you a curt nod and bolts back to his truck. You watch after him until he's swallowed by the crowd. His determined path leaves confused and irritated trolls in his wake. Once again you're alone. It's the way you should have done this to begin with. You shouldn't have involved anyone else. It just put them in danger like you knew it would. If something happens to Necron, or Orica, or Crichton, it will be all your fault. It's your fault already that they're in this position. Thinking about what might be happening to your allies makes the bile in your stomach churn. Your hands are shaking, knuckles white as your nails leave crescent marks in your palms. Without your objective to anchor you or the location Ormsey gave you as a flashing reminder in the corner of your visor, this might have been too much. You're stretched to your breaking point, but you rally the remnants of your willpower and square your shoulders, and you march on. People part in your wake as though they recognise your urgency, or maybe they see something in your demeanour that makes them wary of getting in your way. Good, you're the chief regulator and you will not be deterred anymore. You walk down another block, turn right, cross the street. Your destination is straight ahead. Without making a conscious decision till you break into a run. Nearly there. Finally, a chime in your ear informs you you've arrived at the given coordinates. You slow down again, craning your neck this way and that to scan your surroundings. You're standing in one of the stronghold's central squares, boxed in by a number of tall buildings. Each one has a glass facade that's polished to perfection. Each one boasts a massive illuminated billboard. Your legs slow to a halt. Nothing in your environment stands out as a possible objective you're meant to reach. You don't know where to go. You double-check the coordinates you were given, but there is no doubt. You're in the right place. Trolls mill around you, bound for their own destinations, passing by your towering presence in the middle of the square, paying you no mind. Your earpiece remains quiet. Panic begins to flood you like liquid rushing into a sealed container. It pulls in the pit of your stomach and climbs, forcing the breath out of your lungs with a cold, unyielding pressure. What is he expecting you to do? As if on cue, all of the billboards go dark. Not everyone notices it immediately. Some of the passers-by keep walking, preoccupied with their thoughts or the phones in their hands. Some trolls pause, however, and look up in confusion. A few seconds go by without anything happening. Then a figure appears on the billboard in the middle, staring straight down at you. Welcome, Cecily. Instead of in your earpiece, his voice now booms from the square's audio systems, distorted and ever so slightly out of sync. Everyone around you has stopped now, looking for the source of the disturbance. How nice of you to finally make it! The rest of the billboards light up again now. All of them are broadcasting the square from different angles. All of them slowly zoom in on a figure standing in the middle of it. On you. It's been a long, harrowing investigation, has it not, Chief Regulator? More and more people are turning to look at you now. All in the name of justice. All in the name of the safety and freedom of the people. A series of stills, grainy and dull like CCTV footage, replaces the broadcast on the billboards, too fast for you to make out anything but your own image. Or is it? The slideshow slows down and stops on a picture of an abandoned warehouse. Cecily Apara, corporate's chief regulator, Clarudenthal's own trusted tool. It's empty but for 2 bodies on the ground. The puddles of blood that have already formed around them. A young troll cowered in fear. And yourself, arm outstretched as you hand him a blade. The question how Omsi was able to obtain this footage is an afterthought in your mind. Confusion and panic make you think in slow motion, as though wading through a mire. A protector of corporate's power and order, a paragon of the virtues of our kind. It's only fair, you remember telling that boy, seconds before you stopped his heart with a practice blow to the chest. Was it? A trigger-happy executioner given free rein. A murderer. On the screens you drive your rapier into your opponent's torso. The crowd around you lets out a simultaneous gasp of horror. The people closest to you step back. You want to explain that person was a criminal and the reason many others died, but you can't find your voice. The troll's pain expression lingers on the screens for another moment. He looks terribly young, barely an adult, and so very, very scared. The image fades. A few moments pass, blanketed in silence. People shuffle around you, none of them even pretending that you're not the focal point of their attention. The stairs blind you like headlights, itch under your clothes, settle against your skin like clammy hands. The mass of people have formed a haphazard circle around you, out of the reach of your rapier but still too close for comfort. There's too many of them. The screens come back to life and for a moment you're grateful that they direct the crowd's attention away from you. Your relief is short-lived. Once again your own enlarged grainy visage is broadcast across the screens. Look at this person. High-ranking, established, respected. Is this the role model you want? On the screens, you're staring down Bitcoin Crypto, your weapon drawn and poised at his neck. People gasp when they recognise him. The image changes again, showing a frail, emaciated young troll in a barren room. The perspective is skewed so it looks like he's cowering away from the camera. Then you realise this is the view through your visor, and he's cowering away from you. His tear-streaked face is much too close as you remember the way you towered over him. His eyes, wide with terror, stare at you from the screen. You're going to be sick. The screens switch to another still shot, and then another. The backdrop is different in all of them, but your steely expression isn't. Your locked jaw, the blade clutched in your hand. Fearful faces, blood, drenching your clothes, painting floors, the sickening rainbow of a petrol spill, a pile of mangled bodies. And on top of it all, Ormsey's voice dripping venom into the ears of everyone around you. Can you watch these atrocities and feel anything but disgust for this person, for the ones who not only sanctioned but demanded them? How did we get to this point? When did our world get so distorted, so fraught with ugliness and cruelty? Who is to blame? The executive and his entourage, hidden away in their ivory tower, or the rest of you that let them keep their power? The crowd shifts with his words. It ebbs and flows, breaching the invisible divide between you, then receding again. The looks have grown from curious to suspicious to disgusted. Each glare is sharp enough to cut. He's manipulating you, you want to say. He's twisting facts to make me look like a monster. But these are all things that you did, taken out of context and bent to fit his agenda, but real nonetheless. You, nonetheless. You need to get away from here. You spin around looking for the quickest way to leave the square, but your vision blurs with the strobing lights. Wherever you look, the crowd takes a step back. You start walking and it parts in front of you. Your hand is balled into a fist, fingers tapping against your palm in time with your steps. It's not helping. Just as you start running, a new notification pops up in your visor. Another set of coordinates. The glowing digits leave imprints in negative on your corneas. You steer towards the given destination without thinking about it. You're past thinking. You're going to kill him. You're sprinting now, not bothering to avoid pedestrians, making them jump out of your way to a cacophony of gasps and yells. They don't slow you down. Soon you reach your destination. Your footfalls echo like gunshots in the empty monorail station. You slow down to a jog, scanning your surroundings. Another trap, and then you see him. There he fucking is, man. Ormsey Mortis, less imposing in person than you would have imagined. Thin, frail, and with the slouch of someone who spends too much time in front of a computer screen. Just like me, shut up. Without the mask covering the bottom half of his face, he would be someone you'd pass by in the street without really noticing. Except for his eyes glinting with malice and triumph as they observe your approach. Here you are at last, Chief Regulator. We were starting to worry you'd never show up. We? Oh my god, no, Necron! He turns to look behind him. With a sinking feeling, you follow his gaze. Necron is slumped on one of the station chairs, rope coiled tight around his body and binding him to the backrest. Both his arms are tied to the armrests. In the midst of your panic, you forgot that Ormsey can modulate his voice, just like he did when leading Hermetheor on about Koliad, the same pedestrian tactic. You briefly wonder how he managed to subdue such an experienced brawler. Necron tenses against his restraints when your eyes meet, but the piece of rope around his mouth prevents him from making more than an unintelligible grunt. His prosthetic arm stays limp even as his whole body strains. Something is strapped to his chest, a bulky rectangular object encased in wires. You see a timer. It's a bomb. And this is your conundrum. You little... I would refrain from swearing if I were you. This conversation is being broadcast across the stronghold. Only now do you notice the drones hovering around you, the flash of running cameras. Fuck. This is how it's going to go down, Cecily. You have two options. One, you could do your job. Try to catch me, make me pay for all the harm I've caused people you care about, and all these innocent trolls whose names you won't ever learn. Close the case. That's what you want, isn't it? To carry out your alleged justice. But then there's the second option. He juts his chin out in Necron's direction. You can save your friend. Brave, gullible Necron, so eager to believe you're a hero, that with enough camaraderie and gumption, the two of you can save the day. He chuckles to himself, the sound like nails scraping against glass. How very adorable. Do you think his precious little matesprit is watching this? Perhaps once I'm done I'll have another chat with her. Necron grunts again and you know it's one of his elaborate expletives. So what's it going to be, Cecily? Will you uphold what remains of your professional image and prove your friend wrong? Or will you let down all the people you're meant to serve? What is the message you want to send to all our eager viewers? The morals you wish to impart on those you've influenced? How will you let your story end? You try to swallow, but your mouth is so dry that you nearly choke on nothing. There is a universe out there in which you've foreseen this development, in which you've come up with contingencies for exactly this outcome, in which you've done your job right. This is not that universe. In this universe, you're tired, underprepared, in way over your head. You're faced with an impossible decision and two losing choices. In this universe, all you have is your anger. With a scream that tears through your throat like a broken dull blade, you charge. You don't bother to draw your rapier nor come up with a strategy. All you want to do is hurt him. Your punch, inelegant but effective, lands under Ormsey's chin, knocking his mask off. However, your satisfaction is short-lived. A shock of electricity courses up your arms from the point of impact, making your vision frizz and your body lock up. Next thing you know, you're on your knees and Ormsey's scrambling away. He's pressing a hand over his mouth and his wide eyes full of tears are spilling down his cheeks. Over the buzzing in your ears you hear him sobbing, whimpering words you can't quite make out. Then he's gone. You're left with your decision. Let's save Necron! You watch after Ormsey for a second that feels like an eternity. Your body is a coil about to snap, your breath trapped in your throat like a bullet waiting to be expelled. Your dogged desire to follow a case through all the way to its bloody end, the professionalism you take so much pride in, the fury clouding your vision, they all compel you to go after him. But when you look at Necron, incapacitated but furious, you know you can't. Fuck. You tear your eyes from Ormsey's retreating silhouette and rush over to Necron. Someone more skilled than you at having allies, someone better, might offer him words of reassurance, but you have none. You ignore his groans of protest and don't even remove the gag muffling them as you lean over the panel strapped to his chest. It has a timer, flashing a furious red at 52 seconds, 51 seconds, 50 seconds. You don't know the first thing about disarming bombs. There are several wires crisscrossing around the device, connecting it to the timer and to itself. They seem to have been attached manually, the soldering uneven and sloppy. Part of you wonders if this is just another way Ormsey's found to mock you. Nothing else that he's done has been this sloppy. 49. Running out of time, Necron thrashes against his bindings. Stay still! Rrr! You shoot him a glare and he settles down. 40. The bomb is fastened to him with a large amount of tape. You could pull it off, but it would take much more time than you have. You need to cut the wires, but which wires? Surely Orica will know. You fumble with your earpiece trying to connect with her, but the line is still dead. The only thing that manages to get through is the stifling crackle of static. 35. There are other wires that seem thicker than the others, standing out with their colourful coating. They connect the timer to what seems to be the actual explosive. Perhaps you need one of them. But which? There is no room for error. Disconnecting the wrong one could blow you both up where you stand. Disconnecting neither of them certainly will. You look at Necron's mechanical arm, hoping against hope that it might come to life, but whatever Ormsey's done to it has disabled it entirely. He whines, shaking his head at you. He keeps looking between you and the exit. I'm not leaving you here! You need to act! 2 wires, 2 colours, red and blue. 2 possible outcomes. Just as the number tips in single digits, you know what you must do. You don't need to choose between the 2 options. A 50% chance of success is too risky when it's down to the wire. You grab both of the wires and rip them out. 2, 1. The timer hits 0. Nothing happens. Feeling as though your legs are about to give out, you pull the gag out of Necron's mouth and lean on the wall next to him. With all due respect, Chief, I was starting to think you'd just let the timer run out. You're welcome. With your eyes squeezed shut, you hear the dull thud of Necron's head connecting with the wall in his shaky exhale. You saved my life. God damn, thank you, Cecily. You did. Amidst the nightmare that the past hours have been, you managed to do something good. And still, you're not done yet. As if on cue, Orica's panicked voice floods your ear. Necron, Cecily, what's going on? Are you alright? All good. We're fine. Ormsey got away. You turn to Necron, who returns your look with defiance etched across his features. He nods. I'm sending you our location. Get Mashiri and head here. Necron requires some assistance. On it! Where are you? You cut off the line before she's finished speaking. You can explain everything in detail later. Necron knows that much. He gives you an encouraging smile. Go get him, boss. We'll catch up soon. And just like that, you're running again. Way! You wasted a lot of time and you don't know where you need to go, yet you have to try. You sprint across the monorail station and out a decrepit emergency exit. You come out in a narrow alleyway between tall, windowless buildings. There's only one way he could have gone here. Your lungs are starting to burn, but you push the pain aside and barrel onward. The alley turns left and then right. You keep running, you take another turn, and then you stop. Oh shit! A shadow leaps out in front of you, massive and looming. You skid to an instinctive halt, but you're already very close, close enough to recognise the hulking figure. Finally, you deign to show up. We've been waiting on you for a while, Regulator. You're frozen in place, your voice and your ability to move both lost to the perfect horror of the moment. All you can do is stare. My impatience is only outclassed by my desire towards getting this meaningless charade finished up. Only worthwhile part of this skewed-ass process is the one where we rip your tarnished mid-grade heart out and squeeze it dry. So how's about we just get right to it? You need to act, defend yourself before this mass of muscle and violence crashes over you. He may be stronger, but you're fast, and you can take him on. I hope there's not like another ending where we like. I really hope that like just leaving Necron and going right after Ormsey just kind of results in the same thing, because I don't think I could emotionally handle the option where I leave Necron to die. Just as you move to grab your rapier, two things happen. One, a trill of maniacal laughter comes from behind you. Two, you realise that Pozzle said we. Something heavy crashes into the back of your head and your vision goes dark. You're being carried. Thrown over an oversized shoulder, head down and jostling unpleasantly. It throbs and your consciousness flickers out with each new wave of pain. You hear disjointed speech. Really, really wish I'd gotten to see her face. It must have been super duper funny. Was it hilarious? You gotta describe it to me with all the detail you can muster. Please, please, please! You black out again. When you come to, you don't know how much time's passed. You're still hanging off of Pozzle's shoulder, but he's not moving. What took you two so long? Ormsey's voice is different without the mask. Higher pitched, shaky, almost squeaky on the vowels. It sounds muffled, as though he's speaking from behind thick cloth. If you had any control over your motor functions, you'd laugh. I thought my instructions were perfectly clear, but it seems I must have overestimated your understanding. Pozzle's shoulder muscles tense beneath your stomach. Best be reconsidering the amount of respect you're showing your elders, you misophobic string bean. Yeah, you're a real sore winner. We followed all your silly little steps to wherever you wanted the game to go, didn't we, Posy Puff? Like fuck I'm degrading my station by explaining myself to the likes of him. Just bring her over here already. You're back in motion and you wish you weren't. What? Where are they taking you? An unfamiliar sort of energy washes over you, unlike anything you've ever experienced, and your threadbare link to consciousness is finally severed. Wait, what? What the hell? Oh, wonderful, you're awake. Welcome to the end of all things, Regulator. Let's make your final hour your finest, shall we? Eh? What? Hi, what the fuck? Hi, what the fuck? Hi. Hi, what the fuck? Would there be a different ending, perhaps, if we had... Okay, if we had... Okay, if we had not saved Necron... Let's try this. Okay, let's try this, and if this is no different, then I will fucking die. Oh my god, I can't believe it. There's an old urban legend you heard once when you were undercover. You were leaning against some old solipsistic building, rough brick against your coat, waiting for a target to come trouncing out of the double doors across the street carrying contraband with intent to sell. I don't know, maybe in this one, like, does she survive and, like, Necron ends up fucking hating her or something? I don't know. You'd been working this case for days, blundering here and there due to the constant migraines and hangovers that you used to blame on the immediate effects of romantic withdrawal, but this time you had intel. This time would be different. Alina had died 5 weeks ago now. You needed to get back to work, or you might have just wallowed in self-pity forever. You pulled the brim of your mute-coloured newsboy cap down over your face, along with the wide... I hate that word! Lapels on your coat. You were incognito enough to become just another hunched, border-dark figure in this part of town. No reason to look this way, ma'am. Just out for a cigarette break. Under the street lamp nearby, there are a few locals sitting on the curb, ostensibly waiting on the last bus of the evening to roll around on its rote 20 minutes late schedule. The same delay every night, but the passengers were always sure to show up on time just in case. One troll, a younger man, was kneeling down on his heels, tracing small lines with the fine gravel and detritus on the side of the road with a plastic stick. He went about it with an almost sombre attention to detail, sliding the blunt end ever so slowly along the road, his head tilted in a passive, exhausted fixation on whatever he was drawing. I've been thinking about paying the toll more and more lately. He let the words out as a hesitant afterthought, one that he had clearly debated saying out loud. Not to say I'm falling apart or anything, just directionless? An older troll responded now, finishing the sentence. Exactly, just directionless. Same thing every day. You'll find someone to hold on to. Just let it come natural-like to you. Can't keep chasing it or you come across desperate. What if I am desperate? Like, what if it feels like I either need to fix something, anything, or I need to pay the toll and just disappear? You perked up at that. Sounded like something illegal. The old troll laughed. It sounded like his throat was filled with gravel the young troll was drawing in. You'll be alright. We all feel that way from time to time. The young troll nodded. At the end of the street, the bus was rounding the corner 20 minutes late, right on time. You pushed yourself up from the wall. Excuse me? The old troll turned to face you curiously. What's this about a toll? He smiled sheepishly. Just an old legend. Some folks say there's a toll road outside every city, wraps around all of them some way or another, but you can only find it if you're going on aimlessly, lost but not thinking so much about trying to get back. You reach a point where ain't nothing matter to you, then you go driving and it comes around. And you can drive on it, sure, you can drive and drive on and on forever for some folks, but for others it takes you exactly where you need to be. That road might be your guide, or it might just keep you there and you'll never see an exit again. Some of us like that idea. He shrugged. Some of us ain't got nothing else. But either way, if you want to drive, you gotta pay the toll, and it costs more than you could imagine. The bus hissed to a stop, lowering open to street level as the doors slid noisily open. The older troll flashed you one last toothy smile. Gotta catch my bus now, but don't you worry too much about it, just an old story. When the bus departed, you turned back around just in time to see your target slipping away into the night. You missed him again. This decision you just made at the monorail station. No, not you. This time it wouldn't have been you. The decision she made. She isn't thinking about that decision while she's burning through that fuel left in her motorcycle's engine. Her entire body feels sticky and putrid, bathed in sweat from the humid night air. Insects have been spattering against her visor, her horns, her hair, but she's not thinking about them either. The sun seemed to be perpetually hidden just below the horizon, bleeding their glows into the lower sky, backlighting the world. Beyond the red streaks is the dark starlit void that composes the nights this far away from the city. It has been almost 3 hours. Or is it 2? No, it's 3. Awfully familiar, that feeling of drifting out into the great nowhere that Repeton has become. Awfully familiar. The hours pass and pass and pass. Sunrise, sunset, spin on. But the scene in her mind stays the same. No matter what reality looks like, she still sees that painted horizon, hued so violently in reds and bruised blacks, always ever farther into the swamps and crops and sickly things hidden in the muck the wild reclaimed so long ago. Table scraps, all of it, little more than a contemptible excuse for what was there before long-dead trolls came with their tools and their grand ideas. But farther out, where the crops all fall away, where the fields are wide and empty, where no one has tended the land for generations, the toll road finds her. Here, days since she began to drive, siphoning gas from the abandoned cars littering the highways just to keep moving, the toll road looms. The entrance looks tacked on to the side of the highway, labelled only with a tall sign reading Toll Road in peeling paint. No destination is listed. What would it cost, she wonders? That old troll, surely dead now, right? Said it would cost more than she could imagine to drive here. There is an automatic arm blocking her path forward, seemingly operated by a mechanical box where she could deposit something. She leans forward to read the fine print. Thank you for visiting. The current toll is $3.57. Her brow wrinkles. $3.57? That's it. She reaches into a pocket, withdraws the required loops, and reaches to drop it into the collector. As she reaches, she sees the blood again, bruised knuckles hidden under dry, cracked stains of green. It covers her arm, covers her chest and her face, and it all leads down to the shaking, clenched fist she holds above this automatic toll booth. And when she can finally bring herself to let the money fall in, she sees the stains of blue on her palm. The coins, having carved so roughly against her hand while she held them, carry some of it with them into the collector. Some of the last pieces of her partner sucked down into this hole in a box in the bare beginnings of nowhere. The digital screen flashes green and the automatic arm rises slowly. The hell is that? Means Necron's dead? Necron can't be dead. I mean, he's alive in Vast Error. For a long time there was nothing, not even an abandoned vehicle, though she had not needed the gas. Something about this road kept her tank full, as if it wanted nothing more than for her to keep going forever. And so she drives on, aimlessly, as the man had said. Now with hundreds of expanses behind her, the landscape has developed into what could be a museum. On one side, abandoned factories, sheet metal and automotives and electronics, skeletons of old stabilizers for rockets that stand ornery on burnt launch pads. A single billboard that reads, "Turn around, you missed me." No company is listed, but a smiling, archetypally attractive troll stands to the side, posed as if he were trying to stay out of the letter's way lest a reader miss the message. As Cecily draws closer, his smile transitions into a grimace then a scowl. His eyes lay down from his distorted face, and his hand, previously cupping his opposite elbow, is clenched into a fist. And then she passes the billboard by, and he's gone. "Turn around, you missed me." Shakily she looks down at her hand again, gripping the handlebars of her motorcycle. The blood is still there. Of course it is. She had dragged Ormsey down by the hem of his coat after all, ripped his legs out from under him, flipped him onto his back and kneeled over his weak, sickly frame. "What are you doing? Turn around, your partner is—" She sent a punch haphazardly towards his face. Her fist glanced off of his mask, which she held over his mouth to compensate for its broken strap, and slammed it into the concrete floor. Ormsey, through tears, began to laugh. "You missed me! You missed me!" The next punch did not miss, nor did the next after that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Crack. "Stop! Stop!" He cried out through his cracked teeth, blood and spit smearing down his face with every plosive. His mask had shattered and sliced through his lips, and now it lay uselessly and in pieces across his mangled jaw. "You can't kill me, you'll fail, don't you get it? Didn't you hear me when I said you had to choose? Turn around, your partner is—" And then the bomb went off. Too late. She raised her fist again, a guttural, animalistic cry bubbling from her throat, halfway between a sob and a scream. Suddenly she felt an overwhelming pain in her side. She looked down to see the blade withdrawing from her ribs, sliding back into the hidden chamber in Ormsey's coat. He pulled his hand back to strike again, but she was faster. She grabbed his fist with one hand and then both, and crushed it to pieces. Ormsey screamed, trying to reach his limply hanging hand, but her knee blocked his other arm. When she raised her fist this time, she was laughing. "Wait, you have to give me a sword, remember? Your rule, you have to give me a chance to—" "I lost that sword because of you." She laughed again. The lump in her throat threatened to choke her. "I lost everything because of you." He looked up at her in awestruck horror. Finally, as he stared into her wild eyes, the veil had fallen away. For a brief moment there was vindication. She had shown herself as everything he knew she was. A coward. An egomaniac. A liar. A killer. Just the same as him. The other side of the road is dotted with windmills. They must be from that brief period in history when Repeton's leadership flirted with the idea of sustainable energy, but there are so many of them. Wow. I mean, this can't be the canon ending because Necron is still alive in Vastera. But there are so many of them, too many to be a part of such a poorly executed campaign. The blades trace their lazy circles around and around. She falls into a trance watching them, all this motion no matter where she looks. Some of them have flashing red lights on the end of their arms that still work after all these sweeps. Others have collapsed to the ground in expensive heaps. She wonders briefly what it would feel like to try to ramp up the highway divider and ride through those fields. She would get close enough to one of the windmills to have some idea of its majesty, much bigger than she would expect, she's sure. But the urge isn't powerful enough for her to try. She has been on the toll road for what must have been weeks, but it seems impossible to tell. Every night seems just like the last. Every stretch of road carries this inconsistency. Always factories on her left and windmills on her right. Completely, utterly, irrevocably alone. She tried to recover what was left of Necron. She found bits of pieces of what must have been him, collected them into a small pile, stained her palms. What had she wanted? What had she hoped for in those moments before all hell broke loose and the world finally registered what she had done? Did she think she could return those pieces to Orica? She laughed bitterly. No, she was simply trying to feign responsibility for something for once in her life. A disposition she hasn't earned, could never earn, especially now. She could never have been anything other than what she is, no matter how she tried. No, that's not true. She could never have been anything other than what she is, no matter how florally and profoundly she told herself she was going to try, lying to herself through her teeth. Pathetic. So pathetic. And now she rides between factories and windmills built on dead land, and she may as well stay here forever. Her mouth tastes bitter. She has not eaten or slept in weeks, but she hardly notices the difference. She closes her eyes. On the horizon, the first and only exit from the toll road rises to meet her. On all sides, the scenery shifts from industry back to swamps and cornfields, same as it ever was back on the outskirts of Stronghold 21. When she opens her eyes, she is right where she needs to be. A young farmer stands in front of her, a child, one she recognises. Your eyes are finally open, but you are not awake. Her grip on Proserpina tightens. She hears the sound of wind between stalks of corn. It sounds like static. Do you remember when I said there is nothing here? How the adults come here and see nothing? And you were afraid of nothing. But now, nothing is in you. And you are afraid of yourself because you look inward and you see it there, gaping. Please, put down your sword. Her world drifts into focus and sways out again. She feels her head turning to look at her hands again. Streaked with blood, somehow fresh. Fresher than it was when it was spilled. She can feel rot, spreading, gnawing, crawling up her throat to putrefy in her mouth. You found the sickness inside of you, but you found it too late. And now the lines between you and the sickness are blurred. There is no room for what-ifs anymore. This grief that has followed along your footsteps, like gaseous agony for sweeps. It has finally caught up with you. And now your steps are a monster's steps. This emptiness, it scares me. You scare me. Drop the sword, please. She drops her sword. It clatters to the ground. Husk smiles cautiously. They lower their pickaxe to their side, and only now does she realise that they had been hiding behind it. So you didn't come to kill us. That's good. But then why are you here? Why is she here? Because she needs to be. Because there is something she has to see. She smiles, chokes on her own breath, thinks about what could have been, how badly she wanted to come back here someday and be something for these children, who watch her now from the half-closed barn doors, terrified. She nods curtly and, like all that time ago, moves without thinking. A voice is calling to her, a voice without words. Over the sound of her motorcycle's dying engine, she can hear the sound of the radio channeling perfectly white noise. It blends seamlessly with the shifting sounds in the fields as she takes her first steps into the corn. Hundreds of dark eyes peer out at her from the gaps between the stalks. And my eyes see her too, in greater detail than she could possibly imagine. Oh shit. The static grows louder, clearer. In the dead centre of the field, her boots crush the crops down and she turns her head up to the sky. And for the briefest of moments, she can see the barrier between her world and infinity. And then everything is gone. Oh. What the fuck? Hi? What the fuck? Hi, what the fuck? Hi, what the fuck? You missed me. Help. Is there like a true ending, or is that the it? What the hell? I mean, that was wow. Oh my god, that was ha ha ha. Oh jeez. I don't know. I'll have to see if there's like a true ending or something. I mean, Yashin's there, and I mean, either we kind of unsatisfyingly end with like the I mean, Cecily gets killed or Necron gets killed, and we go and see that guy, or well, that was Snowbound Blood, I think. Unless there's more. Oh no, I don't think so. There's 2 of these here, so that might mean more volume, maybe? I don't know. Well, that was that, and it's almost been 3 hours and my nose feels so bunged up. Well, until next time, I guess, if there is a next time. Holy shit.